Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to a brand new week of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and it's good to see you all here. So thank you so much for tuning us on in. Power show tonight. Vanessa Denman is here. Good Edmonton kid. You know she's an Oilers fan, and she's got great teeth. They survived years of outdoor hockey. Yes, they did. Okay, she's a rarity from Edmonton. She has all her teeth. She's here to talk about all sorts of spiritual stuff. We're going to get into that later on. And Dirty Filth is here with another cartoon. Best of all of you are here tuning us in as well. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position, SJ with a silver, and B with a nice bronze medal tonight. And who else do we have here? Tim Mothman and his goatee, two separate entities. Laura Lobbs, Jack Clark, Robert Lamoth, JSCO, and Dino Bravo. Nice to see you. And Joanne, welcome back. And Joanne will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Eternity Eternal, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, Cosmic Joe, and Les Paul Holland strumming away in Australia. We love you all. Thank you for tuning us in. Toe Tag, how you doing? Mama Susan, Major Lee, Mama Catherine. Mwah! I love you, my dear. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. She warms my heart. Just warms my heart. Brown Dwarf, how you doing? And who else is here? Digger Dog, Richard Elmore. Nice to have you both here. W. David Page, purple-haired Pixie Lara. Good to see you all. Hi, Sandra Kincaid. How are you? And who else do we have here? Let's take a look. Michael Dyer. It's been a while. Good to have you here. Little Cam over on Twitch is here. Little Cam will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. He does not like eye contact. Don't make eye contact. He won't sign. Ginger Turtle, nice to see you back. Barb Madison, Scott B, and Crystal J, thank you for coming on in. Lane Lair, good to see you again. Audacious Amber, thank you for coming on in. Millennium, my man, how you doing? How's the mullet? Let me know. Okay, continuing on with our roll call. Who's on Facebook? Well, it's Indiana's own Susan Lawrence. There she is. She's on the top of the float for the parade, by the way. She's at the top of the float. Okay, here we go. Operation Shutdown, Marty Burback, Rock and Rory, and Dragonfly. Good to see you. Self-Destruct, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. Susan Alloway, Christine Lynn, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Android. Nice to see you. As we continue on with our roll call, Mr. Cowley, bam, bam, bam. Welcome back to the show. Da-da. Oh, Mr. Cowley, ba ba ba, loves his spaced out radio. Haven't done that in a while, have I? Yeah, that was good. That one felt good. As for Ben Eubanks, how you doing? And there's Algaray over on Twitch. Stargazer and Paramarv, Chatbot Marco, nice to see you all. Hello there, Corey Cole. Jennifer, thank you for coming on in. Paramarv, my man, always a pleasure. Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me. How you doing, buddy? All right, continuing on. Bobbert is back. And who else do we have here? Underscore Maddie with his bleach blonde hair. Looking good, like the member of Platinum Blonde in 1986. Yep. Flat Six, thank you for coming on in. And Abbott Hoffman, good to see you. Who else is here? Let's take a look here. Scrolling on down. Doug Shelby's missing. Area 51 is returned. Holy cow. Sparkles on Facebook. We love you, my dear. Let's get the radio side started. And welcome back to the radio side and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in as we are in roll call tonight. Vanessa Denman is our guest. We're going to be getting into lots of spiritual woo with her tonight. And we await Bill WD-40 to lube us up for tonight's show. Mark Sanchez and his collection of Hawaiian shirts. How you doing, buddy? Nice to see you. And doesn't look like Dean. Yes, Dave is more rested, Sandra Kincaid. And it's all your fault. It's all your fault, Sandra. Yeah, I love her. Absolutely. There's Bill WD-40 currently lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want that rigidness. You know what I'm saying? You need that lube. Nina Williams, how you doing? And don't forget, the Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do. Our store is open as well on our website. We do not have ugly swag, people. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Oh, I love our theme song. Love it. Little Brother is watching by our good friend Bumblefoot. Yeah, you go check him out. All right, let's get right to it tonight. All right, here we go. Great show coming up. Vanessa Denman will talk about spirituality and what it's like to be a galactic soldier. Yeah, good Canadian kid. A galactic soldier for all of us here on Earth. Then in hour number 3, we have Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Courtney Marcassani comes in right after that with the UFO report. Vanessa Denman is a business intuitive specialist, quantum traveler, grid worker, galactic citizen, and a galactic soldier. She helps individuals remove dense energies and blocks in life and in business. As well, she is a catalyst for heaven on earth, and whatever that may mean to you. Sounds vague, but sounds very important. We're going to get into it right now. Vanessa Denman, good to have you here on Spaced Out Radio. I wore my Edmonton Oilers hat specifically for you because I am an Oilers fan, just like Dirty Filth is. And it's good to have you on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
I am well. Thank you, Dave, so much for having me on. I love your energy, and I actually love that song as well.
Well, it was pretty much not written for us, but we stole it anyways.
Absolutely.
You know, absolutely. And I give all credit to our main man, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, formerly of Guns N' Roses, currently of Whom Gods Destroy. Yeah, rock and roll. Anyways, besides looking into how good of a hockey player Connor McDavid is, you are very much about spiritual healing and spiritual consciousness, really attacking the good stuff in life in a good way to protect it and preserve it for everybody here on Earth or who seeks out your help. How did you get started in all of this, Vanessa?
Oh, the journey was a long one. It was a solid 40 years. It had to take as much time as 4 decades to understand the dark energy that I entered into coming onto this planet, actually. So I really started to delve into and pull away the layers about 5-6 years ago.
And how did that happen?
Well, I went for a ride with some ETs, and I had to figure out what had happened.
Oh, you got aliens. You
Yes,
got
I
some
have. I have
aliens.
star galaxy people and beings that help me through this entire process.
Well, now we're gonna get along. Now we're gonna be like best friends because I got some aliens, you got some aliens.
So
Let's get
true.
into it. Let's get into it. So here you are at this young age having these type of encounters, and it really seemed to push your limits of what we're
Yes.
supposed to be doing, what we're here for, and everything. You know, at what point did you start taking this very seriously?
Um, well, technically, physically, when I got poked in the head. So I felt a poke in the head, and then I landed back in my bed. And then I started documenting every single thing that was happening to my body physically, and I was trying to control what was happening in my mind.
Okay, what was going on in your mind at that time?
Um, the worst of the worst. You're going to get caught. It was a feeling of you're going to get caught at all times. And it almost felt like a war in between the left and the right, or heaven and hell, or the fourth dimension, however one wants to look at it.
Did you know what any of this meant while it was happening?
No, not one bit. Not one bit. And I started to do some research and follow a couple people and listen, but there was nobody that was identifying with me at that time.
Okay, so you're having to do this all on your own and figure it out at that time. I mean, that is a difficult task, And I think for a lot of us, like when I had my awakening when I was 38 years old, so that was like, 70 years ago. I literally, why are you laughing?
You look really good for 150.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah, you do.
120 actually. 120. you know but here's what I'm trying to get at is I had to do it all on my own. I remember staying up all hours of the night going through Google and going through YouTube and anything I could find, searching books out for anything that I could find that would match what I was seeing and going through. And unfortunately, I did find things that were similar, but never quite exact what I was going through. And I know what it's like to feel alone when you have an experience and you have no place to turn to it. Is that kind of what you went through?
100%. 100%. I stuck with about 3 to 4 friends and or family members, and my conversation never went past any of them, and it barely even made it to that conversation with the loved ones around me, because most of them thought I was losing my mind, because I started talking to all these energies, to Jesus, to God, to Commander Ashtar, and I started asking all these questions. And when you get that knowledge of a universal download, it is absolutely overwhelming. And you see everything from head to toe, from start to beginning, and none of it makes sense at that moment. And then we have to start to pick it apart, like you were saying.
Okay, you're going down a really awesome path right now. How did you pick it apart? Because there's going to be people listening who've had an experience, maybe seeing a UFO or a ghost or some sort of close encounter that they are trying to define for themselves. How did you pick it apart to find the path that you needed to go on?
Well, initially, I called an intuitive friend of mine, a medical intuitive. And kind of what was presented at that time was, whoa. What he said was, Vanessa, you got to stop smoking weed or else just do CBD, because the sativa is going to make this a lot harder. And I said, oh, well, that's interesting. So I kind of maneuvered away from that. And I honed in actually on Commander Ashtar. This was not an energy or a frequency that was even in my realm at that time, but it just so happened to be that he popped up on one of my searches, and I started to look, and then I started to talk, and then my cats would react when his presence or his frequency would come into the house. They would stand like 2 little soldiers and look above my head about 6 feet away. And then I started to realize that that was actually his energy and presence trying to work me through this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you started coming out of this and starting to realize what was going on, and that you were a chosen one, shall we say? Because I think people are chosen. I don't think this just happens to anybody. I think there are certain people that they knock on your spiritual door and say, hey, it's time to wake up and time to get to work. So when you were chosen, how long did it really take you to realize that this had to be your lifelong journey?
About 5 years for me to actually feel comfortable in even having this conversation with you or guiding other individuals through this process. And it's interesting that you say 38 because it is around the 40-year mark that we have the opportunity to awaken. And then there's some dense old, could be in the lineage ancestor that is all in the DNA, even that's all stuck in there that we have to pull apart layer by layer to get down to that soul essence or to the soul timeline.
Okay. So as that was happening, what were you going through? Tell me about the process.
Um, Physical pain, physical upgrades, physical pain. And the reason that mine was so visceral and so physical was because of my ancestral history, my family history with the Greys, if I may throw that out there. So there,
What's the Hold on a second. What's the family history with the Greys?
I only went back 4 generations, and technically that's as far as you really need to go. The rest is all hearsay. But I went back 4 generations and found that the little Greys were actually, what would be the word? Almost imposing themselves on our physical body. So later in life, there was a lot of things like I'd run into an intuitive or a medical intuitive or a psychic, and people would say, "You have a gremlin on your back," and I didn't know what to do with that information at that time. And so my DNA was also getting upgraded as my star family kept coming down and making all these tweaks and adjustments so that we could level up, so that I could level up, so that I could ensure that any more lineage, this would not happen.
Mm. Were the Greys not very nice to your family?
What I figured out their frequency was or is, I would say was actually, is grief. And so I don't know if you're familiar with power versus force or the map of consciousness or the vibrational frequency chart, where it kind of charts out the darker to a little higher energy.
Okay, tell us about that.
So grief is like third down on the rung, and it would almost lock in the third chakra and then close the third eye at the same process. So life for all of them was grief, was suffering, and you can even throw the vows in there: vows of poverty, vows of suffering, vows of celibacy, that just went through. And I believe it was really more on the female side of the family as opposed to the male side.
Okay, so going back 4 generations, knowing that they have been taking your family and being a part of it all. I mean, how did you figure out going back 4 generations? I mean, sometimes people pass on and you just can't go ask them anymore.
Right. So I asked about my great grandfather and his wife, and they were all immigrants from Europe or Poland, or the Ukraine actually as well. And my great grandfather, he was a double amputee. And then I started looking at that energy and his energy in that aspect. And it was the fact of almost surrendering to a higher purpose or a higher frequency or a higher God to get through that. And his choice was not to. So he lost a couple limbs, but I just kept looking at the energy of my entire lineage in the family. And even to this day, my mother and her sisters have humps on the back of their neck from where it locks off right in the middle of the third chakra there, right at the solar plexus, right in between the boobs. And it locks right there. And then all the way up the spine, at the top of their spines, they have 1 to 2 inch humps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like there's actual physical aspects that I was able to identify and look at and find and realize that and not even just my family, but it seemed to have been for Alberta, like they really, the Greys really were hanging out in the rural aspect of Alberta, and that's how they came about, because everybody was farmers back then, right?
And it's funny because the more north you go, especially into the indigenous reservations,
Yes.
there is a lot of activity in northern Alberta regarding alien abductions. A
Yes.
lot of activity. So
Yeah.
that's nothing new. I'm glad to hear that you're Ukrainian descent, because I am too.
Oh, really? I love it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
My proud father coming from Vegreville.
We're Derwent, Vegreville, and Murnum.
I haven't been to Vegreville since I was 3. So it's been
It still has
47
the egg. It still has the egg.
Good. I've seen the egg. It's all that matters is I've seen the Easter egg. It's indestructible. The world could blow up, and the Ukrainian Easter egg is going to go flying through the air as a sole survivor.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I know what that's like. I know what that's like. Vanessa Denman is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. You call yourself a galactic soldier.
Yeah.
That's a very broad term. What do you mean by that?
Well, when I started working with Commander Ashtar, what I did is I showed him 3 babies, 3 children, because we talk so much about this being a free will planet, but how can you guard yourself from something you can't see? And let's say it attaches to you. There's a lot of that going on still as well. And so I showed him, and it was almost like it was a legal case. I kept showing him these times as a child where my vibration got lower, like I just grief, shame, guilt all the time. And I was asking, and I said, well, who's protecting the children? I said, this doesn't make sense. I said, if I have free will, then I should have been able to present or had a conversation with the gray. It should have told me its story, and I could have said yes or no, please or thank you. But that didn't happen. This is all way past free will. So as I continue to plead my case, I started to work with him very, not aggressively, but I would bring children to the forefront. And even when you were on with Lon a couple weeks ago, and he was working with that household, and there was children there, and I immediately at that moment told Commander Ashtar to go over there and make sure that any child that Lon had worked with that had extra protection, and that this was crap, that these we'll say what hitchhikers or these individuals that had passed but didn't know that they were dead, and they're still walking on our earth, and they're of the darker, denser energies. So with that, these children were not given a choice of free will to choose that lower energy or that higher energy. And I continuously was selling that point. I was continuously saying there's something wrong with this system.
What's wrong with the system?
Free will was taken away. So I asked, I said, so is it my mother's fault because all this happened to me before I was even 10 years old? And no, it wasn't. And I even had a conversation with her, and I asked, do you remember when you lost your free will? And she instinctively said it right out of the gate. She knew exactly the day and time she lost her free will.
So when you talk about children, because you've mentioned children a couple times here, whose children are you talking about?
So I'm showing myself as a child from 0 to 10. I'm showing one of my cousins from 0 to 10. And then I was showing one other individual that I knew as a child from 0 to 10. And showing that each one of us didn't even have, because it's almost like we're in a hypnotic state until we're about 16 or 17. So if we're in that state and we grow so fast and we move so fast, and we just absorb all this energy, like what right do these denser energies that didn't get off the planet have to attach to us or to disrupt our lives? And so that's how I was presenting that every time.
Right. I can see that. You know, when my guru Pascal, he once told me that the biggest problem with children is it's between the ages of 7 and 12 where they lose their connections because of school, because of religion, because of parental advice, mentor advice, grandparents, coaches, whoever, music teacher, whoever it may be, who they open up to. And I feel that is, really coincides with exactly with what you're saying regarding this.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Um, and it's crazy because when and the thing is as a parent, you see this happen, and with regards to it being a lineage thing, they like my mother didn't even know that this had happened to her as a child. It's all forgotten. And so it was just like just continuous, continuous, continuous. And so eventually it had to stop. And as a parent, when you're looking at it, you are looking at a child that just starts screaming at the top of their lungs. You end up taking them to the hospital. All of a sudden, there's these weird sicknesses and ailments. For me, it was screaming at very weird random times. Then I immediately started sleepwalking. Immediately, and this is all at the age of 7. Immediately started having massive migraines. That's when I started wearing socks to bed, because there was people always walking, or beings always walking at the bottom of my bed, and they would touch my feet. And I would tell this, right? So I would tell this to my mom, and then the nightmares were just through the roof. And as a logical nurse, how do you accept that? Other than just take them to the doctor or take them to the emerge if something like that is happening, but unable to find out why.
Okay. So when you were able to find out, when you were able to start gaining access to what was happening to you, did it all come at once, or did it all come in pieces?
In pieces. Because when we're looking at it from our logical mind, it's scary, it's fearful, it can be shaming, because I realized at different parts in my life I didn't have access to my right hand. The gray actually was maneuvering my right hand at times. It kind of blew my mind. And this is hindsight. So it's just really interesting in that sense. I don't know if I answered your question. Sorry about that.
No, I think that's fine. We got about 90 seconds to go here before we have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. And Vanessa Denman is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Spiritual warrior type stuff. Do you find that as you've taken on more of a spiritual soldier type of attitude, that there's a lot more darkness around you?
What it actually pushed me to do was to get brighter, to get bigger. That's the only way to actually maneuver through these energies, and then to use a really good spiritual team or your guides, or like whomever you work with, whomever you chat to, even your star family. For me, it's Caesareans, and I can call upon them at specific times. Yeah.
What's that like?
It's kind of beautiful. I will share that, definitely.
I'll get to it.
Yeah. Oh, right now? Oh, I thought we said we only had 90 seconds.
Well, we got like 45 seconds. Warm us up before we
When they show up for me, they show up as a cluster of stars, about 6-7 feet tall, and it looks like a bar across. And sometimes I get emotional because the love that they have for us is phenomenal, and the support is phenomenal. And when they talk to me, it's usually telepathic, but they also drop in beautiful information right through the pillar.
Gotcha. On that note, we're going to get ready and go to break here at the bottom of the hour here, as our good friend Vanessa Denman is our guest. We're going to just continue this conversation, see where it goes. There's no plan tonight. It's just a fun show talking about what it's like to bring in your consciousness, your woo, and everything that goes along with it. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back. All right, we're clear. That's a good start. Hi, Knight Rider. How you doing? Marty Burback. Marty Burback. How you doing, bud? Yes, new music, guys. New music. This is kind of cool. Yes, we have what they call new bumpers. Wayne, how you doing? Vanessa's website is vanessadenman.ca. Not .com, .ca.
Supporting Canada.
It's my girl. Ukrainian Oilers fan. You are a dream come true right now. A dream come.
We're coming out of the gates. We're coming out of the gates hard. Absolutely.
We're going to win that Stanley Cup this year. No more messing around. Hi, Vanessa in the chat room. How are you? Oh. I had a great UFO sighting 2 nights ago.
Did you?
I did. I did. It was about 10 o'clock at night. Hi, lovely and talented Kira. How are you? Michael Gutierrez. How are you? It was about 10 o'clock at night. I went outside and I'm looking at Cassiopeia. So for people who don't know what Cassiopeia is, it's the sideways W. Or if you look the other way, it's the sideways M. Whatever you want to call it. And Mike Rivers, how you doing? Jenny White Bear, how are you, my dear? Anyways, so I was just staring and I saw this bright star. Hi, gorgeous Kim Jellin. Are you flossing your teeth right now? Be honest. You flossing your teeth right now, Kim? I'm feeling like you're flossing. She's got the perfect teeth. It's sickening how nice her teeth are. Anyhow, so all of a sudden, that bright star, which was standing still, decides to kind of do an under loop and then disappear. And as soon as it disappeared, his friend came right below him, brightened right out of the sky, did that little loop, and disappeared again. Right behind him. Yeah.
This year is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be so awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awesome. I hadn't seen a good UFO sighting like that in a while. I'm like, you're here, finally. Where the hell have you been hiding?
There's going to be a lot more of that this year. A lot. And people are going to feel good and calm about it and excited and inviting, just like you were.
Mm-hmm. Echo Whispers, welcome to SOR chat. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward. Dirty Filth, how you doing down there? Give us a thumbs up. How's your hairy arms? Look at that. Guy's a freaking beast. Where's Blob? Blob around? Oh, she's such a diva. Such a diva.
I haven't actually closed the door downstairs yet, so cats are prowling in the neighborhood, probably holding up dogs, stealing their lunch money, things like that.
Yep, probably.
Closing down the bar across the street. That's why I got no money.
Damn cats are drinking away your bank account. That's what they're doing.
No, they go there and get nice, fancy 2% milk.
That's what I ask my cats all the time. When are you going to start to pay rent? Because this is getting expensive.
Yeah.
I hear you.
That's why many cats vote for Trudeau.
Hi,
The Unknown, how you doing? Deb from Sec. How's it going, Diva Deb? Human Carl's here. Human Carl, how you doing? Oh, Human Carl had a toe amputated today. You gotta throw that toe in.
If you don't eat your vegetables,
you gotta have some tequila. Put that toe in some tequila, and you can take it to Northwest Territories.
Senator Dawson City.
Dawson City, famous toe shots. I'm not even Human Carl. I'm not even being rude here. That's the truth. You can send that there. Hope you're doing well, Human Carl. We love you, and I know you've had some health issues recently, but I hope you're feeling the love and prayers that we've all been sending you, my man. I hope so. All right. Underscore Maddie, thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight and this week. We very much appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that follow button if you're listening on X, or hit that subscribe button, ring that bell if you're listening on YouTube. And don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Here we go. Here we go, the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, we'd greatly appreciate you hitting that subscribe button, ringing that bell, and reminding you that all of our archives are always free. Okay, moving on from that, our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with Vanessa Denman. VanessaDenman.ca is her website. If you want to become a spiritual super soldier just like her, all you got to do is sign on up, and she'll teach you right through it. Vanessa, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you very much.
All right. So you got these grays running around. They're causing troubles. They're poking the eyeballs. They're giving you needles in the arms, and giving you some back problems. And they're not even taking you out on a date for dinner first. I mean, it's terrible.
Wait, are we talking about the grays or are we talking about politics?
Both.
Yeah,
Both.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Both are reaching into your pocket for something. We don't know what it is, but they're about to get some belly button lint, both of them. But nonetheless, you've been doing this for how many years now?
Since 2017, 2018.
Okay, so since you've started this, how have you changed? What have you changed in your mind, body, and soul?
I have so much more compassion for anyone's story because there's 8 billion of us and no two are the same. No two stories are the same in any sense. And when someone says, no, that didn't happen to you, or has dimmed your light, as you had mentioned at the beginning, that's where I stand up behind you and I hold the light for you and make sure that you get it back.
Okay. So what do you mean by dim the light?
If we had a teacher that said, like I had a teacher that told me my initials, she didn't like them because it was, she just didn't like them. So then I got confused. That was in grade school. People that wouldn't let us speak up. Many of us got smacked in the mouth for speaking the truth as children. And all of those add up as time goes on.
So when it comes to children having to experience this, and you experience it, reliving your own childhood trauma or anything, do we really know the extent of what we're going through on a spiritual level at that point?
As children? No.
Yeah.
No, we don't. And that's why it's been a physical upgrade over the past 5 years, because so many things attached specifically to me. I had pieces of energy attached that were never mine. They were from lower frequencies and lower energies. And then also the throat chakra, our ability to say what truly happened, really gets slimmed down, especially when we go to school or if we're in religions. I grew up Catholic, so that was one of the worst experiences, some of us had, because there wasn't much love in the Catholic Church that I grew up in.
Right. Okay, so as you move forward, and now you're battling the dark versus light, good versus evil, Snickers versus Twix, whatever that battle may be, do you look at this as what your divination is for this incarnation?
100%. But this is the really cool thing, is that I don't think any of us thought. Are you familiar with Dolores Cannon and the 3 waves of
Yes.
volunteers? Okay, so I
But
don't think.
tell our audience what it may be. They may not know.
Okay, so anyone that doesn't really know about the 3 waves of volunteer, the way that this planet was going and what we would like to do as an evolution standpoint, God kind of called out to all the galaxies, all the stars, all the beings, and said, we need some volunteers to help make this evolution happen. And so technically, and there's 3 waves of volunteers. The first one, you might be in between the first and the second volunteer. What do you think, Dave?
I don't know where I would rank on that.
I think you might be with me on the second round. And then just so anyways, so 3 waves of volunteers. So that's literally meaning generation to generation to generation, trying to make this happen. But I don't think anyone ever thought that the Greys were part of the experiment as well, and or the volunteers. And that is something that I have come to a conclusion of, and I'm going like, what? This is for the world to look like this, and for them to be a volunteer to balance out and or to push us forward to get bigger in light, to get bigger in spirituality, to really hit that quantum physical, non-physical area where you can actually hone in to your holographic mind and create whatever you'd like, always blows my mind. Because like in your experience, because you had mentioned that a woman took you out and introduced you to a Grey. Is that correct? It was like a spiritual or an intuitive that took you out to an area and
You've been reading my profile, haven't you?
And introduced you to a Grey. And I had asked.
That was an Arcturian, we believe.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, perfect. And that, okay, I didn't know specifics with that, but that sounds better. And I was asking about that, like, who were you talking to? I did ask that, and it was just almost like it was like a mother figure. And when I think about the Greys, I don't think about them having mothers. And then all of a sudden it just dawned on me that, oh goodness, of course they do.
Yeah, there were 2 different beings on that day with Samantha Mowat. One was a tall Grey, about 6 feet, except he wasn't gray, he was tan colored. And the being that I saw, I didn't see the second one. The being that I saw was about 10 to 12 feet tall. And he was tan in color. Started off very light tan, like you put too much cream in the coffee.
Yeah.
And then he went darker, almost like a quarter horse type color.
Wow.
Or a better color than that would be like the brown diamonds on a giraffe.
And in that experience, I think that's just so amazing when we look at it from a different perspective, because when we say the word gray, it's a gray color. It's gray. So what if it was like, oh, I ran into like a rainbow being? It completely changes the output that's coming out of your mind or out of your nervous system or anything like that. When even if we add a different color to what we're calling them. So, and that's really cool about the Arcturians, because the Syrians come in, they're blue, and same thing, like very, very tall, probably same as, about 12 feet tall, but they look like the Avatars, that movie. They actually do.
The interesting part about my journey is ever since that episode that happened on April 15th, 2014. So we're coming up to the 10-year anniversary, which I will have Samantha on the show for that night to talk about that. Yeah. It's, I would say that I've only had encounters with Greys since then. I can recall having encounters with 5 different styles of Grey. And then last summer, when I was doing an experiment called the Estes method, that's where I saw reptilian eyes for the first time. and I'd never seen reptilian eyes, and they were orange, beautiful orange yellow with the green scales, and all I had was the eyes, much like if you were looking at just raccoon eyes. It was just reptilian eyes. That's all I could see. And I was like, this just took another level.
I told you we are leveling up this year, 2024. We are truly leveling up. There will be so many more beautiful experiences like what you just shared. And I also find it funny because, there's individuals that want disclosure, and you had chatted and you're like, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if I misunderstood this, but you were like, I don't think there's going to be a disclosure. And I agree with you, because this is so beyond disclosure. They don't even know what they're disclosing. So they're just going to, right? So our galactics and our star families are just going to start to show up, and everyone's going to have to start to figure that out within their own self. And governments have nothing to do with it. They have no idea what's going on.
I think they have a lot more idea what's going on than what they're letting on. They're playing very dumb for a reason.
I don't think it's helping them, and I don't think it matters, because we're going to supersede it no matter what, in my opinion.
That I would agree with you.
Yeah.
That I would totally agree with you. So or let me rephrase that. Do you look at yourself as a super soldier, or do you look at yourself as somebody who is super connected, waiting for the right time to bring your message forward?
I think the soldier aspect of it is truly over now. I really do. The warrior aspect, the soldier aspects, we are on a different level. So I'm really aligning with the way showers. And yes, and that's just it. I will wait until there's the right individuals, such as yourself, to have a conversation with. I will ensure that the information that I'm providing is experiential, as well as most authentic as I can possibly offer it. And then to just break the barriers, really break the barriers between the physical and the non-physical. And I think that's the interesting part about these beings, is they're trying to get dense so that we can see them or feel them, or however someone wants to experience them. But that's also what our star families are doing, is upgrading our DNA so that we can match them halfway, if that makes sense.
Made no sense at all to me. Explain it.
So our DNA is getting upgraded to crystalline, and it's a DNA that's going to, in some sense, prepare us for the next transition. And so, as we say, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, two different Earths, or the Earth separating, or some people staying down here and some people moving up here type item. But anyone who wants to make this transition, they will start upgrading your DNA. And it's a bit of poking and prodding, just dependent how much junk DNA is sitting in your system. And when we raise our light frequency, they're actually trying to bring theirs down a bit so that we can meet right there and have a conversation and feel it and be it and visualize it, or have telepathic conversations. But on that level, that there's just pure compassion and pure what would it be? Benevolence with these beings.
Okay. So as we kind of move towards this connection with these beings, is this something that the beings want to happen?
Yes. And this is part of my mission as well, is doing that full circle of, and people do call it duality, and I call bull poop on so many different things that were said with regard, oh, Vanessa, you have a soul contract with this or with that being or with doing this. And I'm like, what? I'm like, show me this contract. Oh, well, it's in the Akashic records. Well, what are the Akashic records? Oh, well, there's something that they're invisible instructions that run your life. And it's like, well, okay, I call bull poop on all of this. I'm like, something has to change here. It can't be made out of this. And then I started looking at it from different perspectives, and then just rewriting my Akashic records.
I understand. I can see where that is happening in your daily aspect. Now, is it a daily fight you go through?
No,
And
now it's just a
I
daily.
want
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry, I use the term fight loosely, so, you know, but is it a daily grind?
Well, in that sense, yes, because I'm usually working with the conscious collective. So what I'm hearing and seeing through the conscious collective, and I don't even watch the news. I will grab like 2 bits of the news once in a while, and then I'll see if there's anything that needs to be done on my aspect of it or from my end. But on that level of rebuilding the grid so that we have this really high frequency planet that these denser energies can't sustain anymore, can't withhold being on this planet. It is, I'd say it's, every couple of days I check in and I follow a couple individuals to ensure that I'm getting the reflection back. So if I do something with the conscious collective or my mind, or I'm chatting with different beings at that time and I'm asking them to make changes in specific things. And first it had to be, I was asking for myself, right? Like I had to make those changes here, and then I was able to ask for others after that, and or for the conscious collective. And that's smoothing out really nicely right now, really nicely.
Okay, so the goal is what? What is the goal?
The goal is to live our highest timeline, which is happy, happy, joy, joy. I know that sounds goofy and floofy, but it's really hard to get to that point when there's so many layers that were stacked on us. And I also believe the point was to get through the karma in one lifetime. That was part of the experience as well. And that wasn't able to happen in the generations given prior with my family. Nobody was able to figure it out at that point. They just had some really crappy lives. So I realized that the goal is to get through that karma in one life cycle.
Does it take just one life cycle? Can it happen that fast?
Yes, yes. We are
So how
in
does
the age of awakening or end quickening. So the quickening with regard, and so I'll pull off Lawns. He was saying that he was, chatting with that dark entity that was like, no, I don't want to leave, and he's got free will. But he said it took an hour, which he thought was actually quite quick. And in my opinion, we're on minutes, hours, and a couple of days, and that's it. This stuff is getting transmuted, it's getting moved, it's getting alchemized. It's beautiful, and it is moving fast.
Why is it moving so fast?
From 2012, so it was like we were really stuck in sludge, molasses, all the way up to 2012. To move energy, it was very hard, and it took a lot of time and a lot of effort. And that's just from me watching the first wave of volunteers come through, and that was really lonely for them, very lonely for them. And now the ones that are still around are feeling very supported by the rest of the universe, by the rest of the galaxy, by all the rest of the beings, to make this happen. And I also still questioned manifestation. That word bothers me because it's a process. And I'm like, manifestation, I should be able to, if I manifest a flame coming out of my hand, I should be able to do that. None of what I was learning made sense. And so I was like, this doesn't make sense. I said, I want to see miracles and I want to see magic now, because you can see those in an instant. If you're manifesting, sometimes it takes years to manifest. So I just started asking for miracles and magic to happen for myself and for my clients, to be able to see it instantaneous.
Wow. So if it happens that fast, why can't everybody do that? Why can't everybody just have this happen to themselves?
They can. That's the ultimate goal. The ability to run the holographic mind. So you are literally creating everything within this wonderful mind piece that we have. So you have control over your health, your body, and then you also have full access to the non-physical and other beings. And that is the goal. And so there's individuals such as myself and many, many other healers and spiritual individuals that are holding space until you can get to the point to do it for yourself. So I like to teach people that. I'd like to teach them how to alchemize and to transmute energy. That's one of my favoriteest things. And it's literally wrapping words.
How are we transmuting energy?
How we can do it with our words. That's how I do it. I can also do it with my spirit team, and that would be like remote healing or remote help. And I think Lon's he's done that. I think he does remote viewing as well. And that's just literally, tapping into the energy that's in that spot and then bringing in massive light or a huge powerhouse team, depends on what you need.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Okay. As we got about 3.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the top of the hour, Vanessa Denman is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Vanessa, when people look into their own selves and they're trying to find their own spirituality, there is a lot that awakens people to what they are looking for. It's a scary, dark path, but it's filled with enlightenment. But they throw all angles at you. How do you teach a person to deal with that path? Because if you like, when I opened up and my buddy Pascal says to me, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? And I made the mistake of saying all the way. And the things that I learned through my path, I didn't even know I was holding on to within me. How do you tell people how to open up?
That's a great explanation, because I did the same thing, right? It's like if it was my soul contract, I just said, okay, give me the list of all the karma, and I checked off every single box. And I was like, why did I do that? Why didn't I make it a little more simpler? But it is what it is, and I'm here today with you. And with anyone else, there is a specific reason it is happening to you, a specific reason. And if I can just change a person's perception by 1 degree, so they look at it just a little bit differently, they'll get around the corner from it. And so that's where, sometimes working with a healer or a coach or a guide or a guru is helpful, because when we go down the rabbit hole, we need help sometimes pulling back out, because it's like you said, it's unbelievable that we even experience some of this stuff. And truly, it is happening for a specific reason. If it's not feeling right, it's usually the ego, because what we're getting to is the heart-centered conversation, compassion for everyone. And it's the ego, right? And the ego's not bad. It's just the heart has to lead, the soul has to lead, and the ego has to step back. And it's literally putting us in fear/anxiety, putting the nervous system at full bore, because it doesn't want us to get into that heart position, that soul position. And it's so calming and gorgeous in that position, especially when you live most of your life in fight or flight and survival, as I did.
Fight or flight is a very, very tough thing to get through. It really is, trying to get through that. And I'll tell you, I'm 10 years, 12 years into my journey, and I am still very much not even close to where I need to be.
Yeah, but the thing is you actually are. You're perfect. You have to see that you're perfect in this moment. And I think that's what a lot of us miss is, of course, we're always striving for the future and then still replaying the past. And once we get out of that fight flight and we just sit right in this beautiful spot of me being present with you right now, Dave, we are in divine timing, straight out of the gate.
Well, the divine timing right now in Radioland says it's time for a break. So we're going to hop out here on Spaced Out Radio for our next break. Don't worry. Vanessa Denman, her website, vanessadenman.ca, will be with us coming up here momentarily. Spaced Out Radio's Hour 2 is next.
Do you mind if I just go quickly grab our water?
Radio with host Dave Scott.
All right. There's the clearing tone. Yeah, go ahead, grab a water. And Dirty Filth, we're going to turn this bad boy over to you. We got about 5.5 minutes, Vanessa. I'm going to turn this dirty. There we go. Look at Filthy go. Look at Filthy go. Oob Joe's Bane, you've got aliens. Yeah, you do.
He's got aliens.
Yes. All yours, Dirty.
It's all mine. Anyways, that draw. Statement from the totally never been the truth Pentagon. Hold on a second here. Let's try to get a little closer. Now that I got the whole screen, I can see it a little bit better. I do need to get a new arm here because this one's a little wonky. There we go. Cats keep bumping into it. Unbelievable. What's the UFO statement from the totally never been the truth Pentagon? He's saying claims of hidden programs are largely a result of circular reporting by a small group repeating what they heard from others. Typical government response, right? The usual, except I forgot. I covered my black triangle here. And I'm short the black pen. Cats. I found a supplementary black pen for my black triangle. There we are, good enough. Might have to hit it with this guy here just to dry it off a little bit. There we go. All right, that's satisfactory. That's done. The only thing left is the details. What this fancy pen for? Oops. Well, I hope everyone's having a great night. I went for a bike ride today because I was able to dig my bike out of the snowbank. Apparently, my legs still don't work for being able to not ride bikes for a while. With all the snow. Wonderful Edmonton snow weather. Anyways, rambling away here. I went to buy some notebooks because I needed a refill of my notebooks because I scribble stuff at places when I go out and leave drawings all over the place in the wild, in the natural habitat. Oh, yeah. This is almost done. I have another one tomorrow, cartoon for tomorrow that has special guest star I can't tell you about, but anyways, you can't really see it because of the light. Sorry, though. I had to throw a black triangle and a tic tac and a regular UFO in there too for good measure. I wonder if Dave got abducted by aliens or not. Cats are out of control, I can tell you that much too. Oops. Let's get the old signature in there. Scribble, scribble.
UFO statement from Tom. Circular 40 minutes. Very nice, Dirty. Very nice.
I'm gonna send us those government guys that keep tapping my phone line.
It's always those government guys.
I know.
You're I
Okay.
thought you were those guys. Brandon Coast, how you doing, man? Welcome. IXOXI, how you doing? Looking good there, Filthy. Once again, just awesome.
Thanks, Dave.
Just
Have a good night, everybody.
Hey, Filthy, you're the best. You're the best, really.
Thanks, Dave. I love you, man.
Love you too, buddy. That's Dirty Filth, everybody. He's our man, myth, and legend all rolled into one. And all right, big thank you to underscore Maddie ×2 and Human Carl, not to be misconstrued with Alien Carl. We appreciate the super chats. May 10th through 12th, get your tickets now for the 3rd annual SOR fan party. We're trying to convince Vanessa to come.
I'm there. I'll be there.
And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. We do not have ugly swag. You can wear ours and actually be proud of it. We appreciate it. Here we go, everybody, with hour number 2. Here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Let's get to the Desert Clam, shall we? The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Macropodine. Macropodine is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Vanessa Denman is here. We got her for another hour here on Spaced Out Radio. Her website, vanessadenman.ca. So make sure you check it on out. Definitely worth it. Vanessa, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
Are you having fun yet?
I am. I absolutely am. And I was going to mention, as Dirty Filth was getting off and he was saying that his phones are tapped, when you do start to work with your star energies and galactic energies, your electronics work against you. They will start working against you because they're going to follow your thoughts. And what the job is to recorrect our thoughts. And so it's quite interesting on how, if I had a negative thought, I would turn on my computer and it would immediately be validated. When I started to realize my thoughts were my creations, and I would want to see something beautiful, then I was able to start to rebuild those synapses so that I was getting what I wanted to see from my electronics.
You didn't tell me that you actually put a special SOR package on your website.
I did, just for your listeners, just for your peeps. Absolutely. Just for you guys. Absolutely. I created a 2-day, 2 Sundays in a row. If you want to bring to the table, I will meet you wherever you're at. Any dark energy, any negative thoughts, any limiting beliefs. If you're just curious, show up. And you will have my time 2 hours this Sunday coming up and 2 hours the 31st of March.
Beautiful. And that can be found at vanessadenman.ca. We expect all of our listeners to go check it on out. We do. That's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe I'll pop in there.
Absolutely.
Maybe I will. I could. Maybe. Just maybe. You never know. All depends how I'm feeling.
Wonderful.
Maybe after a good long shower, I'll pop on in and go from there.
Absolutely.
All right, Vanessa, as we continue on with tonight's show, I mean, you are someone who it really sees ascended beings, and you look to them for spiritual guidance, skilled guidance, and to try and find that everlasting love that we should have as a human being on this planet. For you, as you start to open up to the world and teach other people how to open up, what is your gift? What do you see when you call in the higher beings?
Um, More than anything, huge support. And so, with regards to specific energies and frequencies or spirit team members, none of them is attached to a religion. But when I speak with Archangel Michael or Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel is actually one of my guides, one of my true guides, I actually see them as about that big of an orb. And when I'm talking telepathically or I'm just visualizing something in my mind and I'm asking one of them to check on it, I will literally, when I'm talking to the archangels, I'll see a big, huge orb like that. When I'm talking to frequencies like Archangel or like Commander Ashtar, he actually will come in on my right side and snuggle up beside me, and or there'll be a tonal change on this ear and what I'm hearing, very distinct change of tone. So to everyone's experience, it's really how you as an individual will see it and feel it. But that's how I usually see and feel and hear these different energies come in. And it takes a bit of practice and discernment, because there are some pretty not nice energies that will come in and bug you if you haven't said for my highest good or my highest timeline, and they will start to bug you. So it's always just learning who you're speaking with, and then also trusting who you're having that conversation with. If you feel that they have the experience that you're looking for at some point. And so when I work with spirit teams and when I speak with individuals on the business intuitive side of it, I literally teach individuals how to use these frequencies. And then I also ask the frequencies to come in a specific mode so they know it's them, if that makes sense.
Okay, so how would you introduce someone to find their own spirit guides to connect with them?
Well, you have to be present. And a lot of us aren't very present. We still have a list of things to do tomorrow. We still have a list of things that we didn't accomplish last week. And so being in that moment, and it's not that I'm just saying like do a meditation, because it's really hard to do that once you have access, like, to all the information in the world. How do you actually shut it off more than anything? How do you turn off the mind so that there's not a constant bickering going on, so that you can feel it or you can sense it? And it will be experiential to the individual. But when I introduce it, I will ask the energy to come in a specific way so that you are actually feeling that energy.
Okay. How do they come to you? Is it telepathically? Do you see them? Do they come in dreamscape? Meditation? How do they come to you?
When you're in subconscious, so when you're doing the dishes, when you're having a shower, when you're vacuuming, these are all, and most likely most people when they're watching TV all the time, they're in subconscious. They're not even watching the TV. And I do have the TV on. However, it's rare I'm actually watching it. I'm in subconscious mode, and it's a quiet mode. And I usually, they trickle in information. Let's say I'm vacuuming or doing dishes, because you don't use your mind to do dishes. You've done them 100 times, right? You've vacuumed 100 times. So you're sitting in a subconscious point, and that is the best time to have conversations with them. Best time. And just start talking to them. Simple as that.
How many guides do you have?
2. I would just say 2, but I have a huge spirit team. So I call in and I use different energies for different things. And that just takes a little bit of time of doing some research and then knowing how these energies work.
I have met 3 of mine. One, I never see him. I only see him like right here, kind of looking that way. He's got a real surfer dude type of attitude.
I love it.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. Okay, then I have a young lady who looks very like a lawyer. and she comes to me on a park bench. She's sitting there on a park bench, and she's got her hair pulled back, the thick horned glasses, and she's very strict with me. But I met Jordan, my guy, my one major guide. I could call him up on the snap of a finger. And the young lady, I cannot call her. She only comes around when I need an ass kicking.
Ah.
Yeah. And the third one is like a wizard. Almost looks like Merlin. And, the big long white beard, the long white hair, wearing the pointy hat and, and all this kind of stuff. And I've only ever seen him once or twice. I think twice.
Is that Melchizedek? Have you ever heard of him? I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure that's who that is.
No, he went by, oh my goodness, what was his name? I'm forgetting his.
Because what you're depicting is a sorcerer, is a magician. And
Yes.
so what they usually help us with is our own personal matrix. So if we don't see something that is reflecting back in our matrix the way we want to see it, I would use that energy for that.
I wish I could remember his name. Very old name. But yeah, he when I was at my lowest of lows, that's when he came. And like I said, I've only ever seen him twice. Yeah. And conversed with him twice. It's really weird, but like Jordan, I can call him right now. And he's like, "Yeah, how you doing, man? What's going on?" Like when I do my ghost tours at the local museum, I always call on him, "Are we safe to do this today?" "Oh, hell yeah. Let's go for it. Let's have a good time. Don't worry about it." Right?
And honestly, when we're speaking to these energies, they want to be jovial. They want to be entertaining. They are funny. When I started chatting with Jesus, that one blew my mind because I said, "I don't talk to you." And I showed him a picture of the Catholic church I went to growing up, and then this frail, gross body that was like drilled onto the wall. And I said, "I don't talk to you." And he literally showed me driving in Edmonton for 1 hour and saying Jesus Christ 3 times because we have such bad drivers here. And he goes, "You've always talked to me." And I have never laughed so hard in my life. So when you start talking to these beautiful energies, they want to be at your side and they want to make it fun and beautiful and delightful. The Palladians dropped in one day. I had asked what star galaxy wants to help me with this project. And that's usually how I use their energy. And one will drop in. And this time, the Palladians dropped in, and I never laughed so hard. I was writing something on a whiteboard that's erasable. Mm-hmm. And I had all my pens there that I was writing them on. And then all of a sudden, I didn't even notice, but I grabbed a Sharpie and I started to circle a specific thing. And then I kind of was like, "Oh, it's a Sharpie. It's not erasable." And then the Palladians literally started giggling. They're like, "Yeah, we want to work with you on that project. Ha." It was pretty interesting.
Do you have a lot of experiences around your home with every type of being, whether it's like gnomes or fairies or sprites or everything that's kind of running around in the weird and strange? Like you can all of a sudden, walk into your bedroom and there's something scurrying across the floor, and you don't have mice or raccoons or anything like that. Do you have that happen?
Definitely. So my cat Oliver, he plays with fairies. You all of a sudden, he's just ripping around on you. All of a sudden, I'm like, "Dude, who are you playing with?" And then I realize he's playing with fairies. And it's pretty interesting because I do hold quite a bit of fairy energy. And they have sort of just come into my realm in the last couple of years. I don't use them that much, but it's really nice to feel light and fluffy with them. My house is off limits to anything that is of a lower vibration. I had a huge apparition in the corner, from floor to ceiling in my hallway when I was doing laundry one day. And I looked over and I didn't feel nervous or scared, but I just assumed it was an ET. And it actually was Archangel Michael. And he had brought in my dad. My dad's passed. And they were squished together. And it took me having to make a phone call to a woman to help me identify what apparition that was. But yeah, the archangels are allowed in here at all time. My team's allowed in here at all time. But other than that, no one else is invited in here. It's my space. There's not many people that come in and out of my home at all.
Well, that's why you have cats.
My cat Oliver always knew it when the Greys showed up. It blew my. It was hindsight, and took me years to understand how he reacted. And now none of that exists.
Weird.
It is. We really need to take a look at our cats and our pets, not just cats and dogs as well, because they are true galactic citizens here to teach us about these frequencies. They are really, some of them are just divine teachers for us.
Some might say that you have been around cats too long.
Heard that one before.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was the crazy cat lady. That'd be way better than me having to explain to people about going for, starship rides and pokes and prods and implants and this and that. I'd prefer to be the cat lady.
Let me ask you this, and I mean this question in jest. What do all your friends think?
I don't speak too much of them about this. I give them, so people ask me things and I give them suggestions. Use this energy, because it's not for me to change their path or their learning process. So when I do have sort of these conversations, it's not on this level. It's more on oh, hey, use this spirit guide or this spirit team member, use this and see if you can change what you're thinking about that. And that's as far as I usually take these conversations.
So they don't give you a hard time? They don't razz you a little bit?
No.
Well, are you a lucky one?
Yeah, I am.
Yep. Yeah, I was with my buddy Scott earlier today, and I called somebody a weirdo. And he looks at me, he goes, "You have the nerve to call somebody a weirdo? Do you know what you do?" And I'm like, well, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You talk aliens, ghosts, and UFOs, and you believe in that crap." And I'm like, oh. Yeah. So I said, "I'm a different kind of weirdo. Different kind of weirdo."
Yeah, I love being a weirdo, though. It's that means we are way showers. We are changers for this new evolution. It's the best to be a weirdo.
What do you connect to? What drives you?
I think more than anything, when this process started to happen, I kept saying, this planet effing sucks. I said, what is wrong with this planet? And I kept looking, and not Mother Earth or Gaia, but I kept saying, like, what am I doing on this planet? What is this? And in my heart of hearts, I feel that we have never gone to the moon. We can't get off this planet. I have checked with individuals and I have checked to see if we can actually maneuver off it. We cannot, not at this point. So what drives me is something so simple, and it'd be calm and joy in my own heart, because there was so much turmoil growing up and really scary thoughts and just this low, gross, vibrating whatever life was. And I would show that to God, and I'd be like, every time I try to walk through a door or advance this or try this, I said, the door shuts in my face. I said, what's the point of this? Right? We're supposed to be able to grow and be a part of this planet and contribute, and even if it's just to contribute with your neighbor and have a beautiful conversation with them. But for me, is the simplest aspect of trying to figure out what had happened, and then this peace and joy that sits and rests with me now, as I move forward and speak to individuals like yourself and your gorgeous listeners as well.
Yes, they are gorgeous.
They are.
Each and every one of you gorgeous.
Yep.
Just gorgeous. Okay, so when you are driving yourself down that path, and your job is to bring this message to the public, how many people are actually paying attention?
It is amping up, and more than anything, it's the star seeds that are amping up. And so we actually don't know we're star seeds, nor was it really at our fingertips like 20 years ago. Now, through the roof. If you have felt that you've gone on a couple of rides, or you're getting poked and prodded, or something odd is happening around you, start to look at what a star seed is and start to see what relates. Like, just do a little Google research and start to see what truly is relating to you, and you will most likely identify with one of these star seeds. And as star seeds, we are powerhouses. All of us are powerhouses. However, when we got a little extra galactic star with us, we really are. And right now, this year, and the thing is this evolutionary aspect has isolated us. Like, it really, like you had said, is lonely, has really isolated us. Now what they want us to do is to come together in settings like this and really amp it up. And this is so that everyone starts to find their superpowers, starts to be able to relax. The nervous system, the vagus nerve starts to relax as everything starts to open up. And it really is going to be quite fantastic. But it's going to be like a yearning inside that there is more out there. And that what if I am a galactic being, and how to start to use that in the most divine way for yourself.
Okay, so finding people's own divinity, knowing that spirituality is very individual, how can you make it about them rather than making it a blanket that everyone can use?
Well, that's just it. What we have to is, for us to be in our soul mission and our soul purpose, we have to be present. And if I'm dealing with trauma from the past, or trying to create like a career for the future, I'm still not dealing with it. And we use so many things, alcohol, weed, shopping, eating, to divert from where they're asking us to look, where we're feeling this on an internal level. And once we get present, and so that's what I do, is I help the individual move a couple layers and get present, then it starts to stream in for themselves. So there is no need for someone to really read your future or give you a psychic reading, because we're going to be in full co-creation. Well, we are now, that we can create whatever we can see out that door, or whatever we can create in our holographic mind. So it's to the person being present and working. And sometimes you do need someone to help you hold the light, or work with somebody that is a healer as well. But I have seen an absolute tremendous jump in the last 6 months for individuals that are transmuting energy very, 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 very fast when you're ready for it.
How does one know when they're ready for it?
Well, they get on programs like yours.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. When you have that curiosity and you know there's something just a little bit more, or a little bit greater, or there's just that the unsettledness inside of, and it's just, you will know that it's like, okay, wait, I can go down this rabbit hole and I can look at it from this point, or I can go down this rabbit hole and look at it from this point. And it's all perspective, right? And we've got 8 billion different perspectives, 8 billion different video games going on. And so what we have to do is just get present for that moment, start to pull away a couple of the layers, and then you can really step into your own power. And that's full creation, full co-creation, because they are working with us.
Who is they?
My spirit team, my guides, my star galaxy, the Syrians, and anyone else that I ask to work with. You have to ask them to work with you. You just can't assume they will. Continuously, you have your guides continuously pull them in. You have to ask.
All right. Well, on that note, we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We have 1/2 hour left with Vanessa Denman. Go to vanessadenman.ca. There is a special for Spaced Out Radio listeners right at the top of her website, so go check it on out. Remember, it's in Canadian dollars. So it's like it's American.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear. There we go. This is turning out well. I'm pretty happy with this.
Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying the conversation. Your questions
The
are spot
conversation sucks. Conversation sucks, but
that lightheartedness is needed so much in this world. I love it.
Yes.
And I still
is
can't
needed.
believe that you just saw a UFO a couple of days
Yeah,
ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Asimov, how you doing? Good afternoon to you, Ozzy Ange. Yeah, no, it was kind of cool. Tets, how are you? As the people keep rolling on in. Deborino, thank you for adding to the super chat tonight. Very much appreciate you, Deb. Along with Human Carl and _ Maddie ×2. Where do you want to go this last half hour?
You guide me. Anywhere.
It's a dangerous question there. Are you coming to Reno for the fan party May 10th through 12th at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort?
I have it all in my notes. Absolutely.
Do you really?
I do.
Do you really?
I do.
Yeah.
Oops. I do. I don't know. And then also I have no swearing, no COVID, no politics on the same page.
Yes. Joe wants to know, is there a curtain on your left, or did I see a huge ghost a while back?
It is a curtain, and there's a cat's tail that keeps hitting the bottom of it as he's ripping around. Yeah.
The old cat's tail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Joe's got aliens.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Are they enjoyable? Does he speak with them?
No, he doesn't like them.
Oh, okay.
No.
Has he asked them to leave?
Yeah.
Calling Commander Ashtar.
Yeah, Joe's got aliens. He does. You know what the funny part about I love telling this story about Joe is when he first started listening to me about 8 years ago, pardon me, he hated me. Right? Didn't like me. Didn't like my style, nothing. So in the chat room, he was in there one night and he was being a little bit of a jerk to me. I said, and he was talking about how he had a camera with him because he takes pictures at night around his property. And I said, Joe, do me a favor. Turn your camera to 2:30 or 3:30 from where you're sitting. So the clock is midnight facing. Turn to 3:30. I said, take a picture and tell me what you see. I said, you don't want to believe me about what I am or what I can do? And he took the picture, and up in the trees, there were 3 sets of eyes staring back at him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And ever since then, Joe has been a fan of mine.
I love it. Just
called it. And it wasn't like bird eyes. Like these were big eyes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And he's got beautiful hair too. He does.
Joe does? Is he having a good hair day as well?
Oh, Joe's hair is like all the way down to his ass.
Oh, wow. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, but those 3 sets of eyes, and they were all at different levels too.
Mm-hmm.
It was creepy. Like when he posted the picture, it was like creepy. It was like, holy cow, I can't believe that just happened.
See, you're magical.
Maybe.
Yes, I think so.
Maybe. Yeah, look at him. Big eyes. Hey, Joe, if you still have that picture, if you can send it to me on Facebook, I'll bring it up so the audience can see it.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. I haven't seen that picture in years. Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see it.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to see it too. He's probably scrolling through his phone looking for it right now because he has all this stuff categorized. Once again, one reminder to all of you that you got to get, if you're coming to Reno, you got to get your info into info@spacedoutradio.com, info@spacedoutradio.com by April 10th, because that's when I got to start building the swag bags, people. So make sure you do that and shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. There's no ugly swag there. Here we go, the next half hour, everybody. Past the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives. You know why? They're always free. I'm not like those other shows that charges you for the archives. Dave, don't do that. No. You know why? Because I remember being in college trying to get to some of my favorite radio shows, and they had all their archives at $10 a month back then. And I'm a poor college kid, couldn't afford it. Yeah, that pissed me off. It upset me. So I've always made it a vow that our archives are always free. Always. That's right. So anyways, moving on, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, we say hello to Vanessa Denman, VanessaDenman.ca. She's a good Canadian kid from Edmonton, Alberta, and we're glad to have her here. Vanessa, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dave. I am loving this. I am loving this conversation. I am loving everyone's chats. I am just in love.
Well, that's good because we kind of like you here as well. And it's been a lot of fun tonight. As we move on towards our, learning our spirituality and our connection with everything, what have you connected yourself to that you didn't think was possible?
Well, in this process, I truly thought, actually, I lost faith in my intuition, in my knowing, because so many layers got pulled off. I was raw, and I always say I was like a baby deer with brand new legs, and just kind of like flopping around and going like, what is this planet? What are we truly doing here? Is this ascension real, or is this evolution real? And so reconnecting with my intuition, getting some of the clairs back, all the clairs, it depends on how individuals view their intuition, and then getting that inner knowing and this trust, this aggressive trust that I have now in leaning into the universe. And then I've always had faith, but it came from a universal level as opposed to a religious style faith, that I knew that I had to keep figuring things out, taking steps forward, understanding more before I would be even able to sit here and have a conversation with you. So that inner knowing and trust really grew very strong out of this awakening, if we say it that way, and or experience, right? Going for rides in starships and spaceships, and waking up in very odd, weird positions with blisters on my hands. Very interesting experience straight out of the gate.
Well, that's excellent. That's excellent. Okay, so as you continue to push the level of trying to build your own connection while helping people build their own connections, how much energy do you put into this? Because one of the things that I noticed when I was going through it, and many others, is you have to pace yourself, because it is mentally draining. It's tiring. It's heavy on your shoulders. There's a lot of tears. There's a lot of anger that come through. Walk people through that process.
Oh, the tears were unbelievable. And this one time, it was like 4 hours I was crying, and I felt like I was getting poked and prodded, and I was just sitting on a chair. And I was just like, okay, wait, stop. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I need a break. It just seemed like all the energy moved off of me, and I stopped crying, and I went and I got a glass of water, and I was like, I need a break from this. And then you are absolutely correct. It is quite draining on every level, emotional, physical, spiritual, as we're learning this new stuff and or pulling off layers so that we can get our soul back up there. So I really keep to myself quite a bit because I am very sensitive, and I do feel everyone's emotions at all times, and sometimes I hear their emotions, and so I really keep my ball together, my pillar of light, and my little guard ball. And you can almost look at it as a disco light that reflects outward, so that I get to keep this, and everyone else gets to have their reflection back their way instead of absorbing it as we. And Lon said it. As children, we are literally pillars of light, these beacons that are flashing like that, and every dark entity wants to get to them so that they can get back to source. So there is that transitional aspect and that learning aspect of these denser, darker energies that do want to get back to light, and they look for beacons like beautiful, bright children to try and transition and transmute into that, or alchemize back to source.
For you, what is source?
God, universe, source light, life energy, because the darkness really will suck our energy. You can see it sometimes in people. I'm sure you've seen it before, where that fear or the denseness has almost sucked it right out of them. And they almost look skeletal to some degree. So life force energy, that pillar that we really are kind of made up of, and ensuring that is, it's really how you can say God, female, male God, divine female, divine male, universal source light. You can talk to the Council of Light, Galactic Council. It's whomever you really want to be a part of, and who you connect with. You personally are going to start to connect with these sources of energy and realize that no matter what, it all goes back to the same point of creation, which means we still should be able to create, which that's what we're getting back to the point of, and creating this heaven on earth. And I do phrase it heaven on earth, whatever that means to you, because when I was getting in my opinion, I had an implant on this side. So it was in here on this side, on the left side. And when they were correcting that for me, I had excruciating migraines almost on a time frame, specific days of the week, every 3 weeks, this for 2 years. And I said, and I surrendered to it. And I said, maybe heaven on earth is just life without these migraines, because these aren't natural. And then things started to roll out of that. As soon as I changed my perception just a tiny bit, it really started to move those blocks out of my way.
Mm-hmm. How do you use spirit to get rid of stress?
Literally throw yourself in a vortex of white light. And if you want, use Archangel Metatron. Again, this is just an energy, but he is a creator. He has his Metatron's cube, where you can co-create in there with him. And it's not that you can create or destroy energy, right, on both sides of that, but in this cube, you can redo what you are requesting of him. And if you ask him to surround you in this gorgeous vortex, he will counterclockwise the energy, so it pulls out, so that you're not like this. So anxiety and stress, it's our energy going at clockwise. And as soon as you ask him to counterclockwise it all of a sudden brings out this space for you so that you can bring in more light. But usually that anxiety and stress is us being compressed with our own energy.
Really?
Yes.
Really? I never thought it was being compressed by our own energy.
And so when we're sitting in this pillar, what we want to do is use that, use his vortex to push it upwards, and so then it gets out. And when when we're going clockwise against, like, that's our whole system. It's just pressure, 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 pressure. And when you ask him to counterclockwise it and start to push it out that top of your pillar, you will immediately start to expand, and that thought will go, the thought that triggers the anxiety, everything that's attached to the nervous system, all of that will start to just kind of step back a second. And this is still instantaneous. Just ask for these energies to come in and work for you.
You make it sound like it's so easy. Is it?
Now it is. Yes. The journey up into this point, now it is. In the last, let's say 15 months, things have started to, when I say do it now, it's done. And that's where I started to see magic and miracles. I was like, what? I was like, wait, it usually takes longer than this. But it truly, it's just the reprogramming of the mind, of the holographic, and then just really knowing that trust within yourself that it will show up, it will change, it will alchemize. No matter what, it'll alchemize. Just ask it to.
I'm trying to picture that.
That's all you have to do is visualize it.
How does one ask? Mike is asking.
Ooh.
How does one ask?
Any way you like. You can verbalize it. You can be telepathic. You can draw a picture in your mind and show it. You can write it down on a book. Literally, you could just write down, Archangel Metatron, please start to run my vortex counterclockwise and show me proof of it. Always ask for proof from these guys. Don't take my word from it. You ask them, show me proof. I want to see proof within 2 hours that you have released this anxiety from me. And you will literally, as soon as you start to have these conversations, you will get proof. You will 100% get proof. And that's the funny thing is people's like, well, I'm not going to ask them for validation. You betcha. You betcha. There's no way anyone's getting out of here without a little bit of proof for our logical mind.
I don't even know where to go with that. I really don't, because I'm trying to think, back on my own experiences. How did I do it? What made me feel like I needed to open up more? And explain to people what a blockage is, because I know I have blockages. I know where my weaknesses are. I know where my strengths are. But we have to clear ourselves in order to move forward spiritually. How do we get rid of those blockages? So first, tell us what a blockage is.
A blockage can be from this lifetime or past lifetimes, and it also can be attached to your ancestor or your lineage. And it literally is like people say, oh, I feel like I got the weight of the world on my shoulders, and they're literally feeling that's being pressed down upon them. And or a heart blockage where you can just have a conversation with them and all of a sudden you find out they were abandoned or they were adopted, and so that feeling of abandonment is there. And then you can see, well, I can see like a heavy spot or how do I put it? Almost like even static. When I look at somebody, I would see a little bit of static on them, on where that blockage would be. But a blockage is literally just an emotional buildup of an event, a trauma, like I said, old DNA, lineage, and or a past life experience. And when we're sitting here today in this lifetime, our job is to karmically correct that. And that's when you call somebody and you say, hey, I think I got a blockage in this aspect or this area, help me out, spiritual person or healer or counselor or psychologist, whomever you're speaking with at that time. And everybody has a beautiful talent of their own. So everyone's a little bit individual when they are working with blocks, but it is a buildup of an emotional event, past, present, or future even. And you can call it PTSD, right? You can call it trauma. Most starseeds have truly gone through abuse, sexual abuse, addictions. When we signed up, we didn't realize what we signed up for. I swear on that one, that's for sure. And so realize if you've had a crap kicking of a life, you definitely are going to be one of the most powerful ones that step out of it.
Oh, very true. But a lot of people like to live in that black cloud too.
And that is their journey.
Yeah. They can't survive without it.
Yes, correct. Yeah. I know many people like that. Many people.
Jennifer is asking, what about getting physical healing? How does physical healing help?
Almost the same way. So is there a specific area Jennifer's speaking about?
Well, I think it's a more generalized question because, I mean, physical healing will heal the pain, but there's still a scar that still develops within you.
And again, that's usually, sometimes people even have like a pain. Oh, I don't know why I have a pain in my foot today type thing. But it's because there's a stuck piece of emotional energy there. So so the physical pain, and then also the ability to understand how powerful your mind is, that you can create that pain as well as remove it. And this is a learning process for sure. However, some of the medical intuitives nowadays are phenomenal. Remote, don't even have to be on camera, can do a quick phone call with them, and that pain is gone. And the thing is that because when that pain's there and it's been there for a long time, years and years and years, it actually has to do with trying to program the synapses of how that created in the first place. Because it created from an event, and now it's just sitting in that piece of the body where the body is literally our first responder. It's our beacon. It's going to say, hey, there's something on your shoulder. Maybe you should get it off. And that's why it will provide a point of pain so that we pay attention to it and then start to rework it, even if it's been years and years and years.
The pain does stick around, but you have to be able to release it. How much can you ask your guides, your body to release it? How does that work?
How much can you can ask for everything. However, really the power sits within you. So when we're working with these teams, it's usually because we're working with an energy that's bigger than us, and we don't know how to. And so, like, being with our soul energy is pretty interesting and pretty wonderful. And so it really truly still comes from within. But when we don't know how to use our within yet, we use the spirit guides or frequencies or different energies to pull it in. And you're always going for the highest light, the bestest light. And it will always be with ease and grace for your bestest ability. It won't be because I'm like, oh, make this happen. There might have to be, if it's ancestral or it's been happening for years, it might take a week or two for you to wrap your head around what was actually done. Sit down, take a cry, have a bath, have some beers, however you're going to process it. But either way, you still have to process it in your own terms.
All right, continuing on here. Let's go to Little Cam over on Twitch. Are you a starseed, indigo, or crystal child?
I would say an indigo. Yes. And most of the children that are coming in nowadays already have that crystalline DNA. So there's not going to be a DNA upgrade with the children that are currently coming into this planet now. So they're already going to be at that level of starseed and of crystalline DNA. And that's why I see the reflection back of the mental wealth, the mental health that these children are going through, because they can actually hear the conscious collective. They are already a part of this beautiful, beautiful process, and so they're having a little trouble figuring out how to control all of this information and all of this energy while we are still in this current archetype, patriarch type society.
Gotcha. 5 minutes ago here, we have Vanessa Denman here till the top of the hour. VanessaDenman.ca is her website. How do you feel about the idea that you in this lifetime may never get to the spiritual Zen that you were looking for?
I actually feel that I'm already there. Even if I'm just serving one or two individuals I'm there because I took care of this. I took care of this journey. And then I regained my confidence with my intuition, with my knowing, and then also with my guides and all the other beings that are there to help us get to this point. And it's truly just that, it's that internal feeling. So even if today is the last day I ever speak of this, I already know that I finished what I needed to finish up until this point. And I am okay with that. Very okay with it. I will go and golf the rest of my life. See ya.
You're a golfer?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you poor thing.
Yes. That's my Zen place. When this all started happening, I went back to cutting grass on the golf course. I couldn't figure out life. I couldn't figure out anything. So I just thought, okay, where's my happiest spot? My happiest place is cutting grass on the golf course at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
That is amazing. That is amazing. I was on a golf course when the last time I was in Edmonton and the tornado hit.
That's what you had said, yes.
I was on a golf course when it happened. Right? The best thing I ever did in my life was quit golf. Yep.
You're saying that? Truly?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Best thing
cool.
I ever did.
You should come golfing with me. You'll want to golf with me forever.
No, because I know if I hit that one shot, because all it takes is that one shot, then I'm out another at least $6,000-$7,000 a year playing golf.
Oh.
Because all it takes is that one drive, that one putt. Okay. And yeah. No, not
I
golfing.
Get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. All of a sudden, you're a superstar. You're going to be there. You're going to be making pars, and then you spend the money in it, and you still are, at 110 every.
Yeah, I can't handle that. But I quit golf back in 2007. I literally took my clubs and my $900 Cleveland golf bag, my $1,000 set of clubs that I had. And that was an expensive set back then, not today, but back then. Yeah. And, my $300 worth of Callaway golf balls that I had in my bag. Yep. And I threw them at my nephew and I said, don't ever bring me this again. That was after I literally, I shot, I wasn't a good golfer, but I was getting into the mid 80s. I was happy with that. And then took a few weeks off. My next 3 rounds were 106, 109, 103. And I said, screw this. I'm out. I haven't played golf since, and I'm happier for it.
Oh, I love it. That's too funny. You pay attention to the score? What?
Of course. I'm competitive.
You should just be competitive with a great attitude, talking to the trees, asking the squirrels to, work the ball in for you, talking to the rocks. It's quite interesting from my perspective. Trust me.
Yeah, no, not me. I'll leave that to you. Vanessa, we have about 45 seconds left with you tonight. Thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. You were so much fun. So much fun. Do us a favor. Tell everybody where they could find more information on you.
Absolutely, at vanessadenman.ca. And at the top of the page for you guys is the SOR program, which will run for 2 Sundays, the next 2 Sundays. And it's going to be Q&A. It's going to be experiential. I'm going to move some energy for individuals. Whatever you guys bring to my plate, usually there's a theme that comes out of a group, and I am just there to serve you. And Dave, I just thank you so much. This was divine. Thank you for your time. And thanks for wearing your Oilers hat. I love that one.
That's what I do. I'm an Oilers fan. Coming up next in hour number 3, we got Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. And then Courtney Marcassani joins us for the UFO report. It's going to be a hard-hitting final hour of the show. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues.
You're listening
right after this
to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
gotta get used to the new music. It's weird. Not ready for it. Not ready. Right there, Mike Rivers. Right there. Vanessa, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you very
much. This was
much.
divine. I love it.
Thank
I
you.
love chatting with you.
Yeah, you're all right. You're a good egg. You're a good Ukrainian Easter egg.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. We'll talk soon.
Okay. And so I can just click and I'm out, right? Like,
Yeah, like this. Bye. She gone. Just like that. Dave sends her on her way. I'm going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, everybody. Be right back. All right. Old Dave's back. The house is starting to pack up. Everybody's all excited to hear what Courtney has to say tonight because we know that the agencies are listening. Oh, yeah. We know. We know. What a great show so far. Glad you're all with us. Remember, you only have until April 10th to book your VIP tickets for the 3rd annual SOR fan party in Reno, Nevada. That would be May 10th through 12th at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. The reason why we got to put the pressure on now is because I got to build the swag bags. Got to build them. That's just the way it is. So make sure you head on over to info@spacedoutradio.com. Info@spacedoutradio.com. I believe there's 52 days until we are partying in Reno. Yeah, we got a bunch of cool celebrity people that you've heard on this show, including Courtney, who's coming to Reno. Many others will be there. We got the live radio show. We have the VIP party. We have the ghost tour of Virginia City. We have UFO Skywatch. So come on, join us, will you? Info@spacedoutradio.com. No ugly swag bags, people. No ugly swag bags. Thank you tonight to _Maddie ×2, Human Carl, and Deborah Rooney for the super chats tonight. Here we go, everybody, with hour number 3. Stay tuned. Here we go with the 3rd and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And what do you got for us tonight, Clam? Let's find out. Macropodine. Macropodine is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter @SpacedOutRadio. Instagram @spacedoutradioshow, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the night where we say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Another place, Hell's Half Acre in Casper, Wyoming. With nicknames like the Devil's Kitchen and Hades Kitchen, Hell's Half Acre in Casper, Wyoming is 300 acres of desolate desert. It got its name when a cowhand, thinking he was at the actual Hell's Half Acre location, sent word that he had arrived at the meetup area. After days of no one showing up with the cattle, the man figured out he was in the wrong place. However, the name Hell's Half Acre stuck as now defunct roadside attraction. Side note, the movie Starship Troopers was also filmed in the area, breathing some life back into the seemingly forgotten place. Then, in 2005, the restaurant and hotel of Half Acre, as the locals call it, closed, and the place was abandoned yet again. Now, Hell's Half Acre has a dark history in that Native Americans used the 150-foot cliff to drive buffalo off of to their deaths. The gorge that this practice was used for is known as Wyoming's Baby Grand Canyon, due to the sheer drop-offs and how some areas do indeed look like the Grand Canyon, but on a smaller scale. It's said that back in the 1800s, the area was home to saloons, brothels, bank robbers, cowboys, Native Americans, and shootouts, which, if you listen close enough today, can possibly be heard played over and over again. Since December 2005, Hell's Half Acre has been closed to the public due to the number of emergency calls local first responders were receiving from visitors being careless while trying to traverse the area. It can still be observed from the parking lot, but a chain-link fence now surrounds much of the acre. One local was interviewed and stated that the acre truly has gone to hell. So know before you go. Hell's Half Acre is closed to the public and fenced off. There's a no trespassing sign on the fence, and weather in the area is unpredictable. If you do visit, take plenty of water, plenty of sunscreen.
And thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another great story tonight. If you want more just like that, head on over to youtube.com/Among the Missing and hit subscribe at Steve's channel today. From the missing to the mysterious, Courtney Marcassani is back with the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
All right, Courtney Marcassani, new theme song. I hope you enjoyed that very much because I had fun making it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's cute. It's really cute. I dig it. I'm digging it.
Yes, me too. Anytime you can throw in a little Marvin the Martian, that's a great, great thing to do.
Is he the one that was my glasses?
Yes.
My glasses.
You know what's funny is the first tattoo I ever got was Marvin the Martian. Little did I know, like in 1994 when I got that it would be such a prolific tattoo of where my life was going. So weird.
You knew you were precogging your future destiny.
Right? Absolutely.
Destiny.
Absolutely. There has been a busy number of days here in the UFO world where there's a lot of news coming out. There's a lot of people talking, and I don't even know where you want to start with this one.
Well, I have to start with this one first thing, just so I don't forget, because it's buried in paper. I mean, I spent actual hours this morning sussing everything out, fleshing everything out for tonight's news. But I did want to say Citizens for Disclosure Now is having a rally. For those who are in the New York area, there's a disclosure rally on the 21st coming up here by the organizer, Osvaldo Franco. He gave detailed briefing materials concerning evidence of UFO and UAPs to Kirsten Gillibrand of New York. And so he has started an organization for disclosure, and there will be a disclosure rally on the 21st. So in just a few days. So I did want to lead off with that, just so it didn't get buried in the rest of my news materials. What have you heard? What would you like to start off with?
Well, you know what? Since we're talking about the disclosure rally, why don't we start off with Daniel Sheehan, the activist lawyer who's been a very big supporter of ufology and experiencers and everything indeed with it. And apparently he broke an NDA to disclose he gave witness testimony.
Correct.
What happened?
Yes, and I spoke with a source about this, actually, because I haven't had a chance to look through the whole video. It's actually an hour long. I started it, but I actually got a Department of Defense document while I was going through that video. But he actually had a meeting with Sean Kilpatrick, according to his interview with Ross Coulthart on Ross's new news channel that he's starting. And so Ross interviewed Danny, and he's talking with him about the data in the past, like Project Blue Book and others. But before he gets to that and gets to the history and his role in seeing Project Blue Book files, he basically says he's breaking his NDA to share that he gave personal witness testimony to Sean Kilpatrick. And so he felt strongly enough about his own evidence and bringing that to Kilpatrick that he broke the NDA to do it. So I thought that was really interesting. Don't you?
I find that very interesting as well, and wonder why he would take that chance, but wondering why even more that there is an NDA on the fact that he gave testimony. Why would there be an NDA on that?
Well, they might have put an NDA on everybody who gave Arrow witness testimony. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, we'll have to follow up on that and see why certain people had to sign NDAs. We can certainly ask around. I didn't have enough time to ask around for people who have given Arrow information, whether they sign NDAs or not. I had heard through a source who was ex-CIA that there were several individuals whose NDAs were actually lifted, so they could testify. So that's conflicting. So we need to figure that out. We need to follow up on that and get the deal.
With Daniel Sheehan, though, I mean, he's an activist lawyer. Why would he have to provide an NDA to give testimony?
Well, he's talked before about his role with the Jesuits and how he has been I don't want to say a broker, but an advocate, a legal advocate between the Jesuits and interdepartmental agencies within the government. And so I'm thinking it's probably related to that. I know that he had to sign an NDA in the past to fulfill that role. So it could potentially be related. So I mean, that's a pretty big deal, that he was willing to risk possible exposure, legal exposure, by breaking his NDA. So it would be nice for him to tell us how long the NDA is for, when he can actually speak about this, if ever, if it's in perpetuity. And so, and you know, what he, the details of what he testified to, his personal information that he shared. So I think it's great that he's basically coming out and sharing this, although it is risky. He's risking, you know, prosecution.
I wonder if they'll actually push that. And maybe that's a battle he's looking for, because then it would bring UFOs right to the courthouse.
Well, he has talked about these different legal defenses that, you know, can be used in the UFO community to push certain issues. And he's talked about the Holman Rule. He's talked about a RICO lawsuit. He's talked about these various legal processes that we can go through. So I doubt they'll come after him. He's got a great reputation. He's been involved with such huge landmark cases in the past for civil rights and abuses. So I doubt they'll come after him. That would be a very bad look.
I think so. I think it would be a bad look, but you know, I think he's wanting, maybe this is just what my feeling. I think he's wanting to get UFOs in the court system. That way, maybe he has other evidence that he could go by, and he's willing to be a fall guy.
Yeah, it's possible. I haven't been able to look into all that because, like I said, I received another document, but I'll follow up on Danny's testimony, and I'll also follow up on some of these questions that we have around the NDA, why he had to sign one, what were the circumstances in which, you know, he was willing to sign one, you know, in the first place, and then also what was shared in his witness testimony. But I think it's interesting that he shared in that same interview, according to my source, that he had gone and done a visit. He was called in to see files on Project Blue Book. Remember, I said when we were talking about this, you and I, about 2 months ago, about the report that was going to come out with Arrow, you asked, well, would there be anything good that comes out of this? And I was kind of hoping that Project Blue Book might have some classified files. I said that might come out through this historical process. And so maybe this is part of that. And this is Danny's role, maybe sharing that he saw these classified files in the Madison building. Apparently, before it was even opened, he was able to see certain microfiche film and look at all of it. And so he described a field with a saucer or a craft that had gone through the field and put a rut through it. And so he was recalling in this interview with Ross some of the details around the Project Blue Book files that he saw in that specific location.
Well, you know what? Danny Sheehan is trying to force a lot of people to speak right now. He's taken a lot of criticism along the way on social media as well as he goes through this. You know, I mean, is he a voice for the people? Is he a voice that can be counted on with this, in your opinion?
Well, I've met him twice, and I've had great conversations with him when I have met him personally. Once at the hearing, actually, I walked in with him at the hearing and brought him to Steve Bassett so that they could go under the tunnel. So we had some nice conversations, and then we also met up before the Soul Symposium. We were once again out in the street together, just standing there talking. And so he has compelling reasons to move forward with this. Not only has he been a long-running advocate and legal representative for disclosure, he is also for civil rights and experiencer rights. And I know that from Melinda Leslie talking about his work at UAP Medical Coalition and how she's aligned with him and how he is for experiencer rights. The problem is, and I've said this recently too, so I hope I'm not making everybody feel like this is redundant, but when you have people like Whitley Strieber at the Soul Symposium who cannot even talk about his own personal abduction experiences because it's not politically correct, right, in that venue, I think it does fall upon people like Danny Sheehan who have these interests to know the law to push it forward as a representative for the people. So I say yes, he's absolutely for the people. I think at times he gets bombarded, by some of these larger things that are happening, and he doesn't have enough manpower for his team. He needs more help.
Yeah, the question is where, because when you're at that level, you need specific people. It's not like, if somebody can walk off the street and just give you a hand.
Well, I think that's why he's probably asking for money. The only problem, the conflict with asking for money and asking for huge donations and saying, hey, if you give us a donation, you'll have access to insider information. You're not actually seeing the political action side of that. If it's just guaranteeing you access into a community of people who are sharing information, it's not necessarily saying we're starting a political action committee or this is going to go towards legislation. It's really just having access to certain individuals. And that's, as I understood it from your and my conversation when you were looking at the Paradigm Institute's donation request. So I haven't looked at that myself, but if that's the way it appears, perception is everything. And that does make people, I think, question what the money's going to go for.
All right, let's change subjects here. Let's go over to journalist Dean Johnson gets a GenAdmin, Joint Staff Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Reporting and Material Deposition released from a FOIA request. How did this happen?
So I get in my DMs today a cover page from the Department of Defense Freedom of Information Division of a breakdown from the Office of Government Informational Services about this GenAdmin. So this is a 9-page document that was released by FOIA request to Dean Johnson. He had made multiple attempts. He had even asked Susan Goff, and she said that there was, she was not able to release it to him for, let me just read what the exact reason was, because he said that he approached her and asked for it, and she replied, here we go. I promptly asked Pentagon Press Officer Susan Goff to release a copy to me, but Goff replied, I cannot provide a copy of the message to you as it contains information that's not publicly releasable. So more of the same from her. The 9-page document goes into excruciating detail on how to do reporting on UAPs. So the timing of this is like just so confounding, considering Arrow just put a report out that said that there's no real back engineering programs, no UAP. So it's fascinating because in the opening paragraph from what I've read here, I just want to share this with everybody. The potentially ubiquitous presence of UAPs defines the national security implications. Ubiquitous. Because UAPs are ubiquitous, they have to have a national security strategy and a reporting process. Now, this is going out, this memo is going out to Wright-Patterson. It's going out to Colorado Springs, USS Spacecom. Okay, so this is like all the different groups that are receiving this memo. And then in the 9-page document is a detailed, basically like bullet pointed list of who's getting it, how to categorize it, how to deal with classification, how to deal with foreign materials. I mean, it's just nuts. It's just full of information on how to deal with bureaucracy and actual UAPs. And it talks about transmedium. It talks about underwater. So I encourage everybody to get the report. It's online. But this is a direct conflict to the Arrows report. This is a memo that went out May 2023.
What is the significance of this report or this FOIA request coming out now? What does it contain in there that caught your attention?
This is a strategy basically by Dean Johnson to say that this memo was sent out essentially like a year ago to all of these commanders, different strategic defense forces. It's coming from the Department of Homeland Security. And so I think the timing of it is to say the Arrow is full of you-know-what.
A lot of people are saying that. And that goes on to what our sources have been telling us as well, is that there are people very, very upset on the inside and surrounding these intergovernmental affairs, that they are not happy with the Arrow program. They are not happy with the report. They think there was a lot that was left out and a lot to really, take the mainstream public who doesn't believe in this phenomenon and really dissuade them from even looking into it. And I think that was a goal, and they tried to accomplish that.
Well, and it goes into, minute detail in the report for those that are going to read it. Things that stand out to me, there's 11 categories of information that they're supposed to report on. You can look that up. The first one is anomalous characteristics and behaviors. And then there's a whole foreign categorization and how to deal with foreign. There's a whole counterintelligence section on dealing with counterintelligence and foreign operatives and how to handle that, while also dealing with UAP classification matters. It talks about, it goes into detail around counterintelligence and how counterintelligence is used in UAP matters. I mean, it's quite stunning. So it's a wonderful document to have to just prove once again that this is not just a mirage that people are looking at. This is actually a really serious strategic defense positioning, and that Arrow is responsible for it, and that we know it was being taken seriously. It's not just a farce, because we have memos like this from the Department of Defense.
Unbelievable. Okay, so knowing the hard work that Dean Johnson has done on this subject and trying to get that, are we seeing more and more, or do you think we're going to see more and more people over the next few weeks kind of come out against the Arrow report like this?
I think this is really compelling. This is a FOIA request release and a document coming out, and the timing of it will take some time, I think, for the community to digest. I don't know if we're going to get anything big like this. I mean, I think this is just to support the efforts that already have been established in the community, that people have already done to support people, the whistleblowers, obviously, and people who are involved with the hearing and testimony. So I'm not sure we're going to get anything for a while. I was hoping that we would hear something about the op-ed last week of David Grush's op-ed and the timing of that, but nothing there. It's just crickets. So this is a nice thing to have in the interim.
Well, I think it's a very nice thing to have, and great work by Dean Johnson in regards to this report as we start to wind down this first half hour with Courtney Marcassani on the UFO report. I'm excited to get into some of these other subjects. The Debrief had an article that you want to get to, which
that was a different categorization. I think first we should go into the MUPAS study.
Study Skinwalker
That's
Ridge.
huge. Yeah, that's huge.
We could do that next on Spaced Out Radio. Courtney Marcassani is here tonight, hanging out with us, and we're having a good time with her at the UFO report. Stay tuned. We got Courtney until the top of the hour, everybody.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
Bumblefoot is so beautiful.
Nice bridge music and transition music. I really like it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of that too. Thank you. Thank you. Warwick 42, how you doing? I got mad tonight.
I'm sorry. What happened? Can you say or no?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I went down to the museum tonight where I do my ghost tours. And there's a few people on that board of directors that I don't like. Just can't stand them. I think they're every swear word I can think of. And long story short, they had their election tonight. I nominated 3 people to try and get back. And these prudes elected absolutely everybody again from last year. And
Then we call that an incumbent.
I flipped out afterwards. I literally said in the meeting as we were getting ready after they adjourned the meeting, I said, this place is a joke. I said,
ooh, tough words, tough talk, Dave.
no, I did. And I said, this entire election was bullshit. And you guys should be ashamed of yourselves.
Wow, rabble rouser, disruptor.
Were
they like all like, ooh?
No, put it this way. While they asked people to vote before people had a chance to stand up and say who they were and why they wanted to be a director on the board or a part of the board.
Well, that's shady.
Yeah. So I really, we're meeting down at the museum. My ghost team is meeting down at the museum on Saturday because we have to start preparing for our season. And there's a couple people on the board who I really like who are going to be there, but I'm going to explain my extreme frustration and that I don't really feel comfortable after seeing something. I'm not going to call it rigged because I don't think it was rigged, but when I see stupid, I have to call stupid out. And I don't know if I want to be a part of that.
Wow,
I'm not
sure. So you might just like break the wrist and walk away.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a big deal.
I'm that mad. I am that mad about it right now. And
is there any appeal process? I mean, what's it like? Is it a small board? Is it a small hands-on board? I mean, what are you looking at politically?
Well, it's a small board. Put it this way. It's a big board with not enough people to choose. And when I see people who are voting prior to people having their chance to speak and introduce themselves, because there was a bunch of new members there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I see the same people getting in year after year after year, but all they do is change their title hats. Okay. That's bullshit. It's bullshit. Okay. So I've had enough of it. And I have to figure out now is my volunteer time that I put in and the $10,000 that me and my team raised last year for the museum, is that worth my time?
Boy, that's a tough proposition to have all that raising and effort and sweat equity and financial investment go into it to walk away from it. But you also will have grounds to be heard.
Well, and that's the other problem too, is during the meeting, we were not allowed. So when the election started happening, there were 2 ladies behind me who heard the people that I nominated speaking. They're like, well, hold on a second. I already voted. I like what they're saying, but I already voted. And so I put my hand up, and I'm like, question, how are we voting before everybody's spoken? That's not right. And my comment got shot down. So I'm like, whatever. Anyways, we're back on here in like
All
5
right.
seconds.
All right. This is going to be
Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on with Courtney Marcassani and the UFO Report. We're going to get into a little bit of Skinwalker Ranch here coming on up. Courtney, welcome back.
Hey, I want to just take a second and say thank you to everybody who sent me news today. I got so much news from people in the community wanting to have this on SOR. So I just want to thank everybody who took time today to send me news items. And I did work on it all day. This next one came from Nicole. I'm sorry I couldn't thank people openly for what they sent me on the Department of Defense, but that was confidential, but you know who you are. So thank you. Nicole sent this MUPAS study that was done on Skinwalker Ranch by Dr. Jim Segala. I went through all of the slides. I listened to his 2.5 hour long interview with a fellow and his podcast who was also an experiencer who had experiences at Skinwalker. And this stuff is off the hook incredible. It's breakthrough science. Jim Segala has basically 37 people that he took into this study. It ended up being like 32 active participants who gave data and feedback during the study. So they maintained the rules of the study. And they basically studied gamma radiation, microwave, electromagnetic. They put sensors in the ground in people's houses, and they had a personal like sensor that they took with them either on their person or at work on their desktop. And these are individuals who had experiences in Skinwalker or in the Uinta Basin. And what they found was that gamma radiation was 22 times, in some instances, higher than the normal level in the experiencers. They saw craft. They had paranormal experiences. Sometimes it was a physical reaction where it was tinnitus, ringing in the ears. There's a whole array of physical things that happened. And so what he's trying to do with this study is correlate between the physical experiences that people are having, what they're seeing and hearing, and potential correlation with these different readings like gamma radiation. And he did find a correlation between gamma radiation and these instances where people had paranormal effects. So
that's interesting that the gamma radiation could have some sort of correlation with paranormal events.
They buried the sensors, some of them up to 1,000 feet in the ground, to test the ground, to see if there was the information or the waves were coming up from the ground. They had them outside the experiencers' houses, and cameras and other types of equipment to detect and sense different types of waves or anomalies. And so he did a statistical study. He found 600 incidences in this group. and the 37 people, 32 who actually participated. And so 20 incidences, which are correlated, I think, is what they did when they did the average. And some of the case studies that he put online, you can go and find them, there's 2 studies that he breaks out that are very interesting, where the individuals had nosebleed. One had a nosebleed, tinnitus in the ears. There was a 5-hour event in the other case study where the person said they felt like they were out of their body, that if there was a case for an abduction, it would feel like that potentially. And so I encourage everybody to go look at the MUPA study. I listened to all of it. I broke all of it down. I wrote detailed notes so we can all kind of look into this together and answer questions. And I'm also going to follow up with the people who are involved with the study. That was Hal Putoff, Christopher Green, and then I think he also used advisors for, or reached out to people like Colm Kelleher and Gary Nolan.
It's a lot of bigwigs right there.
It is. They are the bigwigs. I mean, they are the thought leaders in the community. Several of them have companies or have done past studies or have had deep pockets, like, you know, with Bigelow and Skinwalker Ranch before. And so there's a bunch of really interesting highlights from the study. We don't have time to go into all of it, but I wanted to hit the high points for everybody so that they could go find it and look at it with the main conclusions. There's 3 phases of the study. They just finished the first stage, which was basically to try with sensor data to see if there was a correlation. Now he's going to try to communicate. Dr. Jim Segala is going to try to communicate using this gamma ray signature and put some noise on top of it to see if it will communicate back and if he can modify behavior of this phenomenon. He's not calling it entity. He's not calling it non-human intelligence. He's saying he's leaving his mind open because if he starts to make judgments about what it is, that might inform the research or bias his research, essentially.
That is something incredible that I've never even thought of putting together. Was this type of report? I mean, imagine if that's an actual clue to paranormal activity or any type of phenomenal activity. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be shocked, considering, you know, people who've had close encounters with UFOs claim to have radiation around them, you know, or radiation burns or radiation type injuries.
He went on the record about that. He talked about how it's not necessarily bad or good. He did say that there was, in half of the subjects, there was some type of brain injury in the past, either a traumatic brain injury or some other type of trauma. He did say he noticed that in the subjects. He also said that these individuals seem to have a susceptibility or a receptivity to these spikes. And then he also said that, I mean, he went into quite a bit of depth saying that it's not always bad, because his interviewer was talking about how the government individuals want to talk about this as being demons. And he said it was not demons, but that it does seem to have the person's filter or the way the person, the way that they think about things definitely influenced what they felt and what they saw, negative or positive. And so he said they probably fell along lines. The other thing that he weighed in on with the study is that he said that certain types of individuals and their belief systems, he said you could almost group them, like people who believed in sci-fi or had sci-fi interests versus artists versus other individuals, that what they perceived kind of fell along certain lines depending on what they believed or what their interest areas were, which I also thought was fascinating.
Do we know how many people he tested out?
Well, the people that got in the study were a total of 37, but 5 of them were inactive. And so that happens with studies. You'll see that you'll recruit 100, but then only 75 actually do what's required. And so what they were required to do was to have an app on their phone. They also were in a group with the other experiencers where they communicated about their experiences. They had to write any meaningful data around in the certain times of day. I feel good. It's been a good day. Because what happened was he was saying, well, when these gamma things, these rays spike, we should be able to predict a paranormal event or some type of anomalous phenomena in these individuals. And it was in their home. It was in tight spaces, confined locally. It wasn't like it was spread out in a region. And so that was the other confounding variable, is that it was really close around the experiencers where the spikes were, the gamma.
That could be a real break in scientific study if we could start predicting when events are going to happen. That's unfathomable.
So this is a breakthrough. It's breakthrough science. And so the fellow that was doing the interview was asking about gamma rays coming from space or was the government. He's saying a lot of people are suspicious about this as being the government, and they're outside, with weapons. Because he did say this this study was connected with Havana syndrome type, weaponry. And so he said, no, there's no possible way, because you would need a nuclear accelerator that was so huge to have such a large directed energy to get this type of gamma ray signature with how strong they were and the way that they presented, that it's impossible. It's beyond realistic. So that was something I also thought was very interesting with the study, that it can't be our own government or even Russians that are using it as a weaponry. It's something else.
Now, when it says it can predict an event, or he's hoping that, is that just a paranormal event? Is that a UFO event, a cryptid event, an out-of-body experience?
It's multiple. Yeah, it's various. They would see craft. They would have feelings. They would sometimes hear clicks or tinnitus or feel buzzing in their ears. Sometimes there were other physical effects like headaches, nosebleeds, blurry eyes. And so when they looked at hospitals nearby and started to follow up like outcome studies of these individuals in the Unitah Basin who had been to the hospital, they would find that there was no real advice given. But what they would say is the doctor would put in the notes, well, usually when this type of eye injury happens, where the eye closes and does this specific type of infection or whatever, it's usually radiation. And so that led them to start looking at certain types of radiation in the study. And so he left some of this open about how it's predictive, but he did say it is predictive. And some of it he couldn't share because it's their science. So he did say that they couldn't always tell where the gamma rays were coming from because the way their sensors and their equipment was set up, it was like omnidirectional. So they couldn't tell if it was coming from the ground or if it was coming from the air or how it was coming in, because all the sensors are positioned in different places.
Wow. I mean, this is going to be an exciting study when he finally gets it peer reviewed. I mean,
I looked for the paper. Yeah, I couldn't find the paper. I looked for the paper for a while in the academic databases and didn't find anything. But I went through all the slides and I listened to the interview carefully to provide all the results to the audience. The other thing he said that they did on all the narrative stuff, when people would write in their journal or communicate with other people, they did a natural language model where they assessed all the text that the experiencers shared in their communication. And so he did say that there were other patterns, and they were trying to differentiate in the text and the communication that people used, what type of experiences they were. So it was multimodal. It was a multiple level study using different types of scientific processes, which I think is also fascinating. So you guys can go and look at it. You can find it. Nicole sent it to me today, and I spent the better part of the day looking through all of it and listening to everything. And I think I will follow up, because when we interviewed Colm Kelleher for UAP Medical Coalition about the hitchhiker effect, one of the things I read in his paper and I followed up with him about is this thing that he said that this is hitchhiker effect can be predicted by quiescence. He talked about quiescence being like a biomarker, and quiescence is basically like the quiet time or the calm before the storm, before a paranormal event happens. And so I'm going to follow up with him on that and find out how that falls into this study that was just done for our audience, so we can start connecting the dots.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And you wanted to finish the night off on just kind of clarifying a couple things on what happened on Friday's show that you felt were out.
Yeah, I wanted to just debrief with everybody because I felt like Friday's show, like we had really high hopes to go through and discuss all this, because Nicole and I have been comparing a lot of notes. She's involved with a documentary called The Aviary right now is its working title. And we've been going through a lot of the history around the notes, the 3 sets of notes about the Advanced Theoretical Physics Working Group. And she's got a couple of high-level sources who are talking about their role in the Advanced Theoretical Physics Working Group. And so one of the things that she and I were going to talk about was what we're kind of seeing in terms of patterns right now with psychological warfare, essentially, or psychological operations being used against the UFO community. And so I just wanted to point a couple things out just briefly that we tried to get to, but we didn't really. One of her sources for the movie has gone on the record and said that this was a CIA operative. He's basically said that the group, the Aviary, wasn't a real group. And it's very conflicting when you go and look at the notes of the meetings, who was there, the list, the agenda, all the details around it. And what we were going to do, Nicole and I together, we're going to go through the whole history of all that and the players that were at these various meetings in the 80s and bring it up till now to Sean Kilpatrick. Because it's basically the same psychological operation that's running now, where Sean Kilpatrick is saying, no, this isn't a real phenomenon. Because in this Aviary documentary, the CIA operative is saying, no, this wasn't a real working group. There was some part of it in the UFO history that was real, but all the rest of it was just essentially like a grift. And we were going to go through the different groups involved in that, who they were, name them, and the people that were involved in it, but we didn't get to it. And so I wanted to say to everybody who hung with us on Friday night, I'm sorry about that, because I thought it would have been a really great story to cover how psychological operations are still being used against us now today, obviously, through Arrow.
Okay, so as we try and put this together with this, are we supposed to assume that the Aviary, a group that included everybody from Hal Puthoff to Bruce Maccabee and many others, did not exist?
What the operative is essentially saying through going on the record about the historical part of this is that there were certain individuals in the Aviary that set up a fake group to get funding. And it's really contentious because when you look at the history, and I've been on Above Top Secret and going through all the details of the different meetings, the one that started in 85 with just 5 people at a Motel 6, to the later meeting which include Richard Doty after the UFO 88 Live came out, which basically implicated Bill Moore in being a spy essentially on the UFO community. And I'm looking at that going, well, we know a lot of these events are real because they took place. So we know it all wasn't fake. But you can really see the part of the disinformation that Jacques Vallée has been warning all of us about since the 80s. I've been looking at that, and we can still see it running today.
Wow. And that's amazing that it's still going on 40 years later.
Yes. And that was what Friday was supposed to be about, breaking it all down, who's involved in it, who from the Aviary is still alive and working and at the head of organizations and doing this work. And I do think it's interesting that Hal Puthoff was involved in this study with Jim Segala. He recommended Jim do this study and has been his helper in it. And he was there at the Aviary meeting originally in 85 at the Motel 6. And so we were going to break a lot of that down and bring everybody up to speed with our research and how we've connected some of the dots. And so I'll continue to do that with Nicole so that we can share that, with the audience. But I just want everybody be aware that there have been real psychological operations against the community, including a counterfeit ring that, you know, certain people were involved with overseas and then came back here and did counterfeit documents of MJ12.
Oh my.
There's evidence of it.
That is getting really in depth.
Yeah, so that was our hope, and I wanted to share that with everybody. Thanks for hanging in with us. We'll keep working on it and sharing it, because we don't want to have a collective memory loss of a lot of these things that are basically being used against us in the intelligence community. And that's the other thing I wanted to mention with Danny Sheehan's interview with Ross Coldhart, is he's talking about the intelligence community. There's a law that was established, I think, during the Reagan administration. I'll have to double check for everybody, but he's basically saying there's a law that intelligence community officials, agents, and officers cannot use certain tactics, you know, against the public to sway their opinion. And he said, you know, they're breaking it right now, once again, in the UFO community. So I want to track down that law. I want to track down some of the behaviors and operations that we're seeing, so people can be aware.
And that's what we love about you, Court. You're always making people aware of everything that's going on, and that's what makes you so great at what you do. And you know, it's important that we continue to bring this UFO news, because there's a lot of shenanigans out there, and somebody's got to try and sort it out from the real from the fake. And you do an incredible job with that, Courtney.
Well, thanks. I'm trying, I'm doing my best. I knew this was going to be heavy information tonight and a lot of information, but good news is it's recorded, so people can go back and look at it and pull parts out of it that they want to use.
Mm-hmm. Poke it with a bear. That's what we say. Poke it with a bear.
For me, it's poke it with a highlighter. Poke it with your highlighter pen.
Poke it with a highlighter pen. That's right. We allow that. We totally allow that. Courtney Marcassani, I always want to say thank you for being just an amazing and integral part of what we do on Spaced Out Radio on a nightly basis. You truly are a phenomenon on your own, and it's incredible to watch you work.
Somebody called it a force of nature one time. Courtney is a force of nature. And I'm like, is that good? Is that a good force? Always go with the force.
You got that right. Courtney Marcassani, everybody. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Fall, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, yeah, we've got room for them too. Good night. Still the best theme song in paranormal radio.
It sure is. 5 stars.
I had to cough through that entire part. Oh,
I'm sorry
goodness.
that you had to work all weekend to do all of the sound engineer stuff.
Oh, dude, I was working my ass off.
Yeah, I know you were. I appreciate all you did.
Yep.
Look at
Thank
this. There's a whole, I have like multiple pages of the debrief from Friday night that we didn't get to. Ross Colthart's Gatekeeper, Stephen Hadley, Bobby Ray Inman, Richard Helms. I mean, so at some point we'll have to go through the deep dive on all this and bring it all together for people to have funding sources, Carlyle Group, the BDM building, and McDonnell Douglas. I mean, it's so deep. James Woolsey, former CIA director. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
It's like the road that never ends. The road, as Ozzy sang, the road to nowhere leads to me.
All your resources are within, Dave.
That's right.
I mean, the money stuff is just crazy. I love following all the money stuff and the Carlyle group and how it went to the Bush family. I mean, it's just nuts.
It is nuts.
Yeah, and Raytheon. I haven't broken my biggest story yet. Maybe on Wednesday night I'll break the biggest story yet. I've been holding information for like 2 years that I'm going to release.
Very,
I'll do it
very
on
nice.
SOR, do it on SOR so people can have it.
I like it.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
Some of the, you know what? I don't know about you, Courtney. For me, some of this stuff is just getting so deep that I don't even understand it.
When I was talking with Steve Bassett, I called him about a month ago when I went to DC because I was going to go and work on the whistleblower stuff. And I called him to say, hey, can I use your office building? Because he has, he's got an office. So does Danny Sheehan. So I was trying to use their office buildings when I was there to make calls and do rounds and whatever. Anyway, he and I are talking and he was like, this is getting so complex. It's like the most complex thing I've ever looked at. And it's just getting more interwoven and harder to manage. And I was like, well, good. I'm glad Steve Bassett's saying it. And it's not just me, because I feel like the webs and the interconnections are just, they feel infinite right now. I know they're not, but it does feel overwhelming at times tracking it all.
Yeah, it's getting so difficult.
Yeah, you're not the only one that feels that way. I think that's why we need a group effort and a group team, like group think, bringing history and
right now. That's all I need.
What?
I just need a group hug.
Oh, I'm sending you a friend hug. We're going to make it through. What if this is disclosure? Like, what if this period right now with all this complexity is what disclosure actually is? I mean, then you got to think about it. It's like, it's not that bad. We'll get through it.
I don't like it if it is. I really don't.
I'm not liking it. Not a fan. Not a fan.
If disclosure ends up like my board meeting tonight,
break the wrist and walk away. I put my financial investment in. I want my representatives. You're not going to give me a vote. I'm out.
Oh man. You have no idea how pissed off I was earlier today.
Oh, I would imagine. Yeah, no, that's political stuff is incensing.
Outside of the building, I called one guy an asshole. And I called one of the board members who used to be a member of the BC government. I told her,
dear.
I said, this is the most bullshit thing I've seen in a long time, and I don't like it.
Now you're sounding like an American. That's what we would say. We would say, hey, this is some bullshit.
Oh.
At least we know the Canadians have the same vernacular.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I don't usually get fired up, but I was fired up tonight.
Yeah, and I can't see you getting fired up. It's really out of character that you would get,
Oh
PO'd.
No, this is the character side I hide from people. I'm a very big politics guy. I love politics. In my previous life, I must have been in politics, right? but I don't like shenanigans. And there were shenanigans. I'm not saying there were shenanigans pulled tonight, but it was very obvious when the exact same people get reelected year after year after year after year after year. There's something to it.
I think you might have to pull an Abraham Lincoln and just be like, let's play hockey over it. Let's wrestle over it. That's win-win.
I'm not done with this yet. I'm not done yet.
An old-fashioned row. Like, you know what? Let's just see. We'll have a couple people wrestle, and my guy, your guy, my girl, your guy, and we'll see who wins.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, that's the way he got things done. You might want to just start throwing that out
Party
there.
18th through 12th at the Silver Legacy chat tonight. Right there. Okay, that's what it looks like. I have to memorize on my audio screen now what all the parts look like at the end of the audio, so that way I cut the audio. Yeah, because they've all changed now, and I don't like it. I don't like
Hold
change.
on. People are asking for my name. I'm gonna put it in the.
Courtney is her name. Yes, Christine, we will be live in Reno. Jeff Steve Garvey, he's waiting to hit a home run for someone tonight. Hey, Anomalous Debates, how you doing?
That's me, Dave.
I know.
Every time. I'm gonna do it every time to you, poor guy. If you're gonna put it out there, I'm gonna do it.
I did it because I needed the laugh.
That's me, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we should do our own study with the sensors, because we can do it with the gamma rays, and I think we can do that. We could do a mobile unit. Why not?
I had an amazing chat today with a First Nations gentleman. We were swapping.
I was going to ask you about First Nation stuff. I think that's an intuition. It must be.
I had an amazing conversation with him.
Yeah.
About aliens, alien abduction, Sasquatch. And he showed me this one print that his friend found down by one of the rivers or creeks on their reserve. And it's probably a 14-inch print, but it is really wide, and you can actually see the toes pressed into the mud, like the outline of the toes going in. It was like the perfect print.
Did he do the casting and all of that with the measuring implements and whatnot?
They had a pen beside it, like a Bic pen.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty incredible.
Oh, there's some Pennsylvania people in the chat from my homeland. Where are you guys from in Pennsylvania? Put it in the chat space. I'm heading back there soon. I will be leaving. I told you that, right?
Yes. You will not be here Friday night.
Yeah, I'm going to be gone, and I'll be back on the East Coast doing family stuff. But I'll also try to do UFO stuff as well, and lobbying stuff.
Good.
2 birds with 1 stone.
You're a 2 birds with 1 stone kind of lady.
Yeah, get her done. What else did I want to? Oh, I wanted to ask you, are you First Nations?
No.
Okay.
It
was weird. I was out snowshoeing today because we got some snow, and you post hole still up here if you don't have your shoes. So I was snowshoeing. I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about First Nations people. And the reason why I was thinking about it was because they had 2 Native American folks in the study, Jim Sevmigals, Segala's study, and he said that their response and their reaction was different, and the way they thought about it culturally than other people in the study. And so I thought maybe we could work on that together, because we have, a good Alaska Native community here in Alaska, and you have First Nations folks in Canada.
Yeah, we can work on something. We totally can.
I'm going to put together some information like a study, and I'll send it to you.
I just firmly believe that and I realize this is so anti-science what I'm going to say here, but I just firmly believe that First Nations people, if we actually paid attention to what they are trying to tell us, we'd be so much better off.
Well, that was part of the study, is that somebody took some crystals, and in the study, they were having these reactions with the crystals where they felt guilty for taking them, and some negative things happening around it. So they ended up taking the crystals back where they took it from, and were like, I'm sorry. And then they had positive feelings. And so the investigator of the study was saying it's about respecting the land, and First Nations people and Natives have that in their culture, to respect the land, don't disturb things. And so he said that if you looked at the study that way, more culturally, that it very much fit in line with those philosophies.
Oh yeah. Courtney, on that note, I got to sign off here.
All right. Night, Dave. Thanks for having me. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the news. I hope it was worth it for you.
Always is when you're here, my friend. Always is. Courtney Marcassani, everybody.
Till next time.
Good night, my friend.
Night.
And a big thank you to _Maddie ×2, Human Carl, and Deborah Rooney for the great super chats. Tomorrow night on the show, Rob Heatherly is going to be here. We're going to talk UFOs and the Wikipedia scandal that's going on right now, where people are misidentifying anybody who has anything to do with our phenomena. We'll get into it tomorrow night. We got into it a few weeks ago with Matt Ford. Rob Heatherly will break it all down after he broke this story and investigated it. Here we go. See you tomorrow night, everybody. Don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.